So we can call the meeting to order.
All right. Well, welcome to the Library Board meeting, June 16th, 2020. The time is 5:08 p.m. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have roll call, please?
All right. Aaron.
Here.
Tracy.
Here.
All right. Tony.
Here.
Gail.
Here.
Camille.
Here.
Barb.
Here.
Nancy.
Here.
All right. And for the record, excused is Alderman Wolf and Trustee Humphreys. Okay. All right.
All right. Statement of public notice, please.
This meeting was noticed in accordance with the open meeting law.
Thank you. Public comment. No one here from the general public this evening. So let's move into consent agenda. 2 items on the docket. Number 1, approval of minutes from the last meeting, May 19th, 2020. And number 2, to place on file the library financial reports for the month of May 2020. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion for approval, please.
I will make a motion to approve the 2 items on the consent agenda.
All right, Camille, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Tracy, thank you. Tracy seconds. Further discussion? All right, hearing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the consent agenda is approved unanimously. President's report, just a couple quick thank yous. I want to thank Brittany and the staff here just for continuing to do their best amidst this interesting situation that we find ourselves in these days. They are doing great work. As you know, the library does plan on reopening this week, right?
Thursday. Yep.
Thursday, yeah. So I'm sure we'll hear more about that in Brittany's report here coming up. So I just want to thank her and the staff. I'd like to thank Trustee Conkle for running the meeting last month. I had an emergency situation come up, so appreciate you stepping in kind of at the last moment. And I want to thank all of you. I understand that you decided to tolerate me for another term as your president in my absence. So thank you very much. And that's my president's report. So let's move on to director's report, Brittany.
All right. Welcome back to the library. We have, the staff have been here basically since end of April, starting with curbside. This past week, we've seen another shift. First, I was having staff come in teams, right, so that if someone got sick, only one team went down and we could still run the library with additional staff. As we move along and as we've started to bring back more services, I've had to end the team-based because we have to have more people to do the more services. So we're moving into that. So it's been a good week of staff seeing each other when maybe they haven't for a while, but still, taking into account the safety measures we need to. Looking at my director's report as written. Yeah, we have a huge backlog of cataloging, obviously, because there were many things staff could do remotely, virtual programming, project planning, doing curbside, marketing, things like that. But cataloging was not one of them. So we have lots of boxes of books to go through, lots of new releases that have been tracked. So we're working to address that backlog, and we have to catalog the items, and then, of course, they have to be processed, and we're trying to find time to do that amidst all of the reopening business. So that is one big task that we're trying to get caught up on. We have had several presenters already start to cancel on us. Now, we're not doing programs right now anyway, but they're pre-canceling on us for, November or October or September. So we're keeping an eye on that. But we do have Chad Lewis. It's our first virtual adult program. We've been doing a lot of virtual programming for children, but this is the first one for adults. And it's called Bizarre History of Wisconsin. It's going to be through Zoom, so anyone can sign up, and they have to register, but then they can attend it. But what's really cool about this, and it may really lend us to wanting to discuss having Zoom moving forward even after the pandemic, because Tudor Oaks, they have a cable channel in their building, and they're going to stream this live program to that channel. So all of the residents, many of whom still cannot leave, I think Tudor Oaks is actually still very restricted in terms of...
Yeah, they all are.
So we've been working with Tudor Oaks so that everyone will be, or not everyone, but anyone who wants to will be able to watch it from the comfort of their home, and that's really cool.
That is really cool.
I'm excited that we have this opportunity. So,
What's the date on that?
It is June 23rd, and we're offering it at 3 o'clock because that was we think our largest audience will actually be Tudor Oaks, and so we decided to cater to their desired time. So, and then the recording will be posted, I believe, afterwards, so anyone can watch it at any time. So if someone's working at 3 o'clock, like myself, you can tune in afterwards. But yeah, we're excited. I really hope that it's of good entertainment and education for anyone who wants to do it.
So that will be at the library website or Facebook or afterwards?
Yep. It'll be. I'm trying to think. It's going to be a Facebook event. So if you go to Facebook, you'll be able to get a link there to register. Oh, let's see. What else? Summer reading has started on June 15th, so people can still sign up. It's a virtual program. We're going to have lots of presenters come in and do live stream. So the magicians, the animal programs we normally would have, we're doing live streams of that. That's what's happening across the system. Every library in our system is doing a virtual summer reading program. Menominee Falls just had their first virtual presenter for children on, I think it was yesterday, and they had over 100 attendees, so that was a pretty good. So we'll see what we can get. The cool thing, and I really encourage everyone to sign up for it. It's a online account that people can create called Beanstack, and it's something that was offered statewide to libraries for free, which is great. And kids can earn badges. Well, actually, anyone can. So adults, teens, kids. And they are cool badges. Like you can get the thief badge or the witch badge or the mermaid badge. So I think it's going to really excite kids as they're, and adults. I would personally be very excited to get a badge like that. So you collect badges and then you get tickets. And then you can attribute these online tickets to certain prizes. And then you get put in the drawing to win. It probably comes as no surprise that we've had a lot of summer reading coupons fall through. Lots of businesses that previously would have been able to give discounts or buy one, get ones, they're not able to do it, which we understand. So what we did with our Friends of the Library money is we bought gift cards from local businesses and, of course, some from broader businesses like Amazon. So we really wanted to make sure we were supporting local businesses, and so people can put their online tickets to try to win those prizes. There are still a smaller group of coupons, and anyone who completes the minimum 10 hours of reading in terms of kids will get all of the coupons at the end of the program. So that's just the way to do it so that we don't have people needing to come in every day to try to pick up one ticket. I mean, I think that's hard on parents, and who knows what people's comfort level is. So they'll get the entire coupon packet once they've completed their 10 hours, and they can pick it up all in one chunk, curbside or otherwise. So that's how summer reading is going. So we're looking forward to that. I have signed up myself, and I would encourage you all to do the same. I'm not a competitive person, but perhaps if we all did it together, who knows who might win? Me, you, I'm just saying. It's something we could do together. I challenged the staff equally to see if someone could beat me. I read a lot of Snuggle Puppy books every night to my daughter, so I get a lot of reading minutes in. Let's see. For teens, Amanda has been doing some really fun things, so she's trying to think of some challenges online for teens to do, and so she created an online escape room. And it is really cool. And she also shared it with other libraries in the system. And then she encouraged them to share their escape rooms with her. So there's this little series of online escape rooms. It's almost like a choose your own adventure. Like you make a decision, you enter it in, and then it moves you through the escape room depending upon how well you've done. So I give her a lot of credit for thinking outside the box on that.
That might be good for some moms, too.
Right.
There's an escape room with spa treatments and wine. You won't want to escape.
Emphasis on the wine.
We'll have to get a library drone that will deliver those little bottles of wine to people's doorstep. Let's see here. Circulation has just been booming. So you'll see the stat from May 13th through June 9th. We've had over 5,200 curbside items.
Wow.
That means that the staff have moved 5,200 items outside to people, which is crazy. And I'm trying to remember the number off the top of my head. I believe that also equates to over 2,000 patrons. So that means that
2,000 what?
patrons.
That's
So
what they ask you.
5,200 items,
Yes.
but over
That's
2,000.
fine. I have some questions
Yeah.
later on.
Yeah.
I just want to try it. Okay.
So that we've been really busy. I've been having to wear my sneakers a lot more. Let's see, and we've been doing appointments the last couple weeks, so people are coming in to use the computers, to send faxes that they need to send, to register for library cards. I would say that it has been small. I wouldn't say that there have been an enormous amount of appointments, and unfortunately I don't have that number for you. I didn't remember to pull that, but on average I would say there are probably 10 to 15 people a day that end up coming in. The study rooms were very popular once I brought those back for reservation. We've had people coming in to reserve the study rooms. This is our only meeting room available, and we have had reservations. I would say maybe about 6 to 8 groups have come in over the last 2 weeks to use it. We set it up socially distanced, and we ask them to move, but then it's their decision if they decide to sit closer together or rearrange, and that's not our job to sort of police that behavior.
What do you do, Brittany, if somebody just shows up at the door without an appointment? What's your...
We let them in.
You do?
Yep. And we keep well, I shouldn't say that. We have had a few people find their way in through a door that the door was shutting and someone got in, and all of a sudden I look and there's someone here, and we don't turn them away either. If they needed to grab a DVD, we'll help them find it. It's a good soft opening technique plus good customer service. So yeah, it's been good to see people in the building, certainly, and they're very grateful for the access to the technology, especially. That was very hard for patrons to not have access to it. Let's see. Yeah, no, we've had 60 people make digital library cards. So that was a new thing that the library had just started doing right as the pandemic started. And so those virtual cards were a great way to get people instant access to our ebooks and e-audiobooks and databases. So even before we had appointments to get people in the building to register for cards, it proved to be a very helpful option for patrons. And the funny thing is, it was never it was never meant to be an emergency scenario. It was meant as sort of a lure. Like we thought, oh, it's so easy, just sign up online. You'll be able to look at an ebook and maybe that will tempt you to come in and get a real card. And we never thought it would be a useful emergency measure in the case of a library closure, because I never would have conceived us being closed for longer than a day for snow. So it was interesting how that application took on new benefit and new meaning for us. Dates of note. The next library board meeting is July 21st. This one's going to be a very, very important one because that's when we're going to be voting on the 2021 operating and capital budget. So if at all it is possible for you to come to this meeting, it would be of great help to move that along. It used to be we had more time. Prior to my coming here, the board would have very, very general discussions in June. They would have more discussions in July, and then in August you would vote. But that timeline has since been moved up by the city. So now, and so maybe what that means for me moving forward, because I think it's going to stay that way, is that if we decide that this feels too rushed still, that June for this initial and July the vote, if that's not enough time to think about it, then what I'll need to do is start my planning processes earlier. The only tricky thing about that is that our system expenses don't get to us until around now. But just think about it. As we talk about this today and as we vote next in July, if you decide, this felt too crammed, I wanted more questions, I wanted more time, let me know, and we'll see, how we can start these conversations earlier. Let's see here. Friends of the Library. We had our first Friends meeting last Monday. And as you can see, the book sale revenue losses are around $903 year to date compared to 2019. So that's not an insignificant amount of money, especially since when you think about, for Jammin' on Janesville, we tend to do a lot of sales because we usually have outdoor DVD sales, and maybe Jammin' will happen in August, so we'll see. But we're certainly going to be behind on that. I worked with our friends, Carol, who's in charge of the book sale, so I brought her back in, so she's starting to restock the shelves with donations that were brought in before the pandemic, so those are for sure quarantined and all set. We are going to open the book sale on Thursday because there's actually no difference between patrons handing us books that they're bringing back and handing us money for fines than the book sale. It's the same thing, handling books and handling money. So there's no reason not to do it. We will eventually start taking donations. We haven't quite advertised it yet just because we have plenty of stock right now from pre-pandemic. So I just want to get the staff through the motions the first couple of days of reopening before we also have to contend with getting donations, because I will want to quarantine those items just like we quarantine our returns before we get them on the shelves for patrons. So, but that's in the works. We are starting to talk about additional fundraising opportunities and what that would look like in this environment. So I don't even have anything of value to share with you on that yet, but just know that is a priority for the Friends and for us as well. So we are starting those conversations. And then of a very, emotional note, Lawrence Bunting, our president, and Carolyn Bunting of the executive board, they are no longer going to be able to attend regularly in physical form because they have sold their property and they're going to go on this great adventure across the country in their mobile home. And we are so happy for them. They were so welcoming to me when I arrived, and I'm so grateful to them for that. And, of course, for their support over the decades to the library. We were grateful to have them as friends, and they will, of course, be friends in spirit. And I told them that they should start a reality TV show of their journey, and then all of the YouTube commercial revenue could go towards the library. They did not seem. I told them they just had to create a little bit of drama every now and then because that's how you get viewers in reality television. So they had to have arguments or crazy things happen.
Take the wrong road.
Exactly. They did not take me up on it actually, and I think that would have been a sure thing for us. So we'll have to keep fundraising ideas, I guess. But anyway, so if you know them or if you don't, just say a farewell in spirit to them. And of course, I'm sure they'll be back and stopping by. And I told them that they had to stop by the library when they're in town again. So.
Is there somewhere to go to see what you can and cannot donate to the library as far as things?
You know, I don't think we have a page like that, but that would be really helpful. Off the top of my head, so we take puzzles and DVDs and books, paperback and hardcover. We don't really have an age restriction on it. But what we always tell people is we'll take it, but we can't guarantee that it will end up making it on the shelf. It sort of depends on the condition and quality and whether or not we think it'll sell.
So you take talking books in DVD and CD format?
We would take CDs and audiobooks. We wouldn't take cassettes, so like VHS tapes or audiobooks on tape. We would take CD audiobooks, but not the cassette tapes.
All right.
The one other thing we tend to not take is older magazines and what's the other one? Encyclopedia sets.
And obviously not VHS.
Correct. Yeah. Those don't tend to sell, and so we just can't afford the space. But I'm going to make a note of putting a website. That would be good to have. We have a friends page, but I don't know if we necessarily.
It brings it to the attention that they do that.
Yeah.
Instead of Goodwilling them or whatever.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Barb. Thank you.
I always do that when I go rummaging. If people have a lot of good books, I always say, hey,
Yeah, nice.
drop them off at the library.
Thank you. That's really helpful.
You know what I do, Brittany, that I hope is not causing a problem, but I'll pick up 4 or 5 at a time, and I read voraciously.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a TV person. Then I bring them back to resell them. Is that
Okay.
a problem?
Nope, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. Not unless you spilled your chocolate cake on it and then returned it. Then we probably don't want it. But no. Otherwise, yeah, that's great. Actually,
I have been guilty of buying the same book back twice.
You are a good friend to the library, Nancy. Let's see, grants. So Michelle, our admin services assistant, attended an accessibility workshop, and just by attending and learning more about it, we were given a $975 grant to improve accessibility in our library. And as you know, we had that report done, and there were a few things we needed to work on. So we're going to be purchasing accessible tables for our study rooms. So that's great, because right now they don't meet the requirements. So that's a great addition that she got some additional education, and then we got free money, which is fantastic. I applied for another grant, and I won't tell you more, because if we get it, I'll tell you more about it. I'm just trying to be hopeful. I'm hoping that so many other directors were so distracted by the pandemic that I'm like one of the few that applied. We also have another grant that's coming to us through Bridges for about $900, and it has to go towards technology, specifically related to support during the pandemic. And so we were already going to do this anyway. I wanted to start doing chat messenger for the library so that if people are at work or at home, they could type in simultaneous chat, and then reference would be there answering questions for them. I don't know if you've seen that through the banks and stuff like that.
Restaurants.
We had it at my last library, and it was great because we would have people who didn't have time to call on the phone, or maybe they're screaming kids in the background and they just want to put a hold on. So I'd put it in the budget anyway, and now someone else will pay for it.
Perfect.
So that'll save us some money as we're looking at our expenses. And I'm going to continue to explore more grants in the coming weeks, so we'll see what else I can find out there. And we will have Bridges also is giving us a grant to reimburse for Zoom for April through June. So,
What does Zoom cost?
it depends. So if you just use their base package, no frills, it's free. But it's free, but then it kicks you off after 40 minutes.
There's a time limit.
The professional package is it's still fairly cheap. It's around, $15 a month or so?
Yeah, it's $14.99.
Yeah.
My book club, we've got one
Nice.
now, and so and then you get unlimited minutes. And I think you can have up to 100 people on it.
That's reasonable.
Yeah, exactly, per month, yeah.
Now, I actually took it a step further, and we are paying $49 a month. And that was because when I was doing research and talking to the city about how to have board meetings and programs, they recommended the webinar function for Zoom. And the reason for that is for a meeting that's closed to the public, like a staff meeting I were to do, or a book club. It doesn't matter. You send the link, you send the code to your buddies. Nobody else even knows the meeting is happening, and it's a secure environment. If it's something like a library program, like we're doing with Chad Lewis on June 23rd, where you're advertising it out there, you could get people, if it's just a regular meeting, who come in, they chat awful things, they send photos, it's called Zoom bombing, but I didn't want to do that because for our library board meetings and for our programs, we need to publicly notice the meeting ID to let people in who are strangers.
Yeah.
So because of that, the Zoom webinar function allows you to get panelists in early. So that's what you all were actually. When I would send you those Zoom invites, you were actually panelists, and it allowed me to get all of you all in without grouping you with any potential public attendees.
Right.
And it allows you to block the public from chatting or Zoom bombing. They can attend, but they can't participate. So basically like any other online webinar you may have done, where you're sitting there and listening and able to hear what's going on, but you can't affect the presentation in any way.
Now, when people are canceling on giving presentations, do you offer them the opportunity to do a Zoom presentation?
So far, the 3 that have canceled don't really lend itself. Like it's this breaks my heart, the antiques one, which was always so popular.
Yeah.
This was his last year doing it anyway. And he was just like, no. And, you can't really do that via Zoom. I mean, he could give a conversation about antiques. But yeah, if the opportunity lends itself, we could consider it. We sort of have to balance whether or not it's worth paying the presenter to do. Like our children's virtual programs are through the roof, right? Parents are tuning in, kids are loving it. Adult online programs, is it worth paying?
Right.
If on average we would get 20 people and pay a presenter $150, $200,
Yeah.
would it? If we presume that maybe a third or a quarter might end up deciding to do it online, it may not be the best use of our money. One of the things that we are going to do, you are the first to know, it hasn't even been advertised. We've been trying to think, for adults, if not a virtual, we'll do some virtual ones, but if not virtual, what else would be useful? And so what we know from people is that they've spent a lot of time in their house. And we know that they have been doing a lot of cleaning. And so we are going to bring a shredding company to the parking lot, and we're going to pay for 2 hours worth of shredding. And that's one of our adult programs. We're going to take the money that we would have done to pay for the antiques person. We're going to pay for that service. People can drive up. They'll be in their cars, so it's not like there's going to be this long line of people. And then they can take care of some of that backlog. So we're trying to think of, it's almost like a mini event, or what else can we do that will still allow people to take advantage of these opportunities, but it's really fine-tuned to their current circumstances. So we're going to keep thinking of things like that, and depending upon how popular it is, maybe we'll do it again. So I don't know what the date is on that yet. We're just starting to finalize the details with that company. So, let's see, federal reimbursement. So I said I would update you on federal reimbursement. So far, the city is not at the reimbursement threshold when I last checked. So we're continuing to track. They told us to, and we'll keep updating them on where we're at in terms of COVID expenses. So we may end up getting lucky on that. But as of last week, that was the news that I got. And Lois has been here a year, and Stephanie, our shelter, has been here a year. So happy anniversary to them. And then, Gail, I thought you'd be super excited because you may notice that the spreadsheet looks longer. I added some fields.
And I wrote notes on it.
To Gail from Brittany. The statistics, of course, they're heartbreaking, right?
Yeah.
We are not, we're not going to be where we were. So don't even look at.
But everybody's in this boat.
It's true. It's true. It's just a tragedy to have to close a library. But the new entries that I added were the Canopy Play withdrawal, and then the withdrawal value. So you'll see how many videos were viewed or streamed through our online streaming service, and then how much it cost us. And the goal of this is because we have a decision to make come July about whether or not we continue with Canopy or we switch to Hoopla. That's the trial that's being funded by the system right now. Or we do nothing, right? So we either stay with our Canopy streaming service, we switch to Hoopla, which has streaming ebooks, audiobooks, comic books, and music and things like that. So it has more than Canopy. Or do we do nothing? Do we decide it's not a good service to go into? And I put Canopy in here because that's the service that we pay for and do. You will see later on in this document there's a comparison of our Hoopla usage to our Canopy usage over the past 3 months since the trial for Hoopla started. So it's just something to sort of tuck in the back of your mind. I certainly have a recommendation for you all as well, but at face value, here are the statistics. You can certainly see that May was very popular for Canopy in terms of viewership.
I'm not a techie, but I have a question on the streaming.
Mm-hmm.
Can that be streamed to a smart TV, or is it only, it can?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
how do we find out how to do that? My smart TV begs for me to on the internet all.
I know. Yeah, and so we have a little handout that basically says that you need to search for the Canopy application on your smart TV, similar to a phone. If you look in your smart TV, there's
Look in the apps.
Yep, and there should be one for Canopy, and then you just create your account, sign in, and you can watch the films from there. A reminder: Canopy is. You're not going to find your blockbuster releases. You're going to find Oscar-winning films, classics, documentaries, and foreign films. And that's Canopy. And like I said, Hoopla, but it's instantaneous access, right? So you could have 20 people watching the latest Cary Grant movie. That doesn't really go together. The latest documentary or their favorite Cary Grant movie, and unlike they won't be put on a holds list. It's just instantaneous access.
So do you have to go through the library to get it?
You have to have a library card with us specifically because
and so when you go on your TV, then you give your library card number? Or?
Yeah, I would recommend registering through the account on your computer, and then once you have your login information, then you can just log into the app through your TV.
When you learn how to come to my house.
And I would be happy to write up instructions and send it to you.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, I would be happy to do that. Okay, so Canopy.
I'm also not a techie.
I am. Well, I like the big TV, and I tried to get like the mast on, and one week I could get it, the next week it wouldn't do it, so I don't know, I'm not good with that technology, but there are no directions for that either.
Brittany, I got a couple things on the curbside pickups, in your report, you said you had 5,200, but then you pared it down to 2,000 patrons.
Yep.
Why is that, I guess, because I'm counting 1,377 between the months of April and May. Why don't you have 2,200, for an example? I mean, are we cheating ourselves?
Are you asking me why the verbal number that I gave you, the 2,200?
Well, I mean, in the director's report, I was reading all of this before I came here, and it said you'd done 5,200 between May 13th, I think it was, and June 9th.
For items. That's.
But then you pared it down in the meeting and said it was 2,000. I'm still not seeing that number reflected here.
So 5,200 is the number of individual books or
Right.
DVDs. Yep. This number here is the amount of unique patrons or amount of times we ran out to the car to someone.
Right. But you had said 2,000 in
Yep.
your verbal.
I believe what I was also including was through June.
I'm sorry. What?
June, the month of June. I don't have June's
All right, that
numbers
makes sense.
on here.
That makes sense. And then my next question is related. One below just seems odd why there were no library visits in January and February pre-pandemic.
Oh. Because
So I can understand April.
they were all invisible ghosts. I'm not sure.
I just don't want you to cheat yourself.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why
And there
that's-
should be something for having.
Yeah,
right?
not to be critical.
No, it's not critical. It's a good point. We missed putting that number in, which is funny because last month we had the numbers, so it must have been when we added the new rows, I bet we had some formatting issues. So
make sure don't cheat yourself.
yeah, no, for sure. That's
And I would assume that you would have some count for the beginning of March as well.
yeah, yeah. Very good eye. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Excellent. Good eye there. It's amazing how you can look at something more than
How many
once,
times
and
and not
yeah,
see it? Oh,
exactly.
Yep.
Oh, good stuff. All right. So I wanted to point out that new data, and like I said, if I only put Canopy on here because Hoopla is a trial, so I didn't want to cement it in here since it's just a trial, and trials have their own unique behavior to them. But there is data on Hoopla later in this
The
packet.
numbers on Canopy are very good.
Yeah.
I mean, between 2019 and 2020, I mean, there's definitely been
There's been an uptick.
between that. And did you put the instructions, like you were talking about giving to Nancy, like on Facebook or someplace on the website, so people, if any fool could do it, no offense, you guys?
Yeah,
Because that would be me too.
yeah, we could put it on the website.
Because to me, that might also help with your numbers if you tell people how to do it.
I just want them to call me because I feel lonely, Gail.
I bet. You have nothing else to do.
Yeah, every time my phone rings, I just try to hide under my table.
I can imagine.
No, but that's a really good point. I will make a note of that. So we, of course, have much more to talk about later in the packet about the budget and Hoopla and all that business. But anything about the director report? Anything else that I can expand on?
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Brittany. Moving along in the agenda, no unfinished business this evening. However, it looks like we have several new business items. So let's turn our attention to item number 1, a discussion regarding an update on library service level 4. Brittany.
All right. Whew. Okay. Here we go. So, as an overview, there's a couple things that I'm going to talk about in regards to this agenda item. I'm going to go over the expenses briefly again and revenue. These are the same format you saw last month. I'm trying to keep that consistent. Then we are going to talk about this upcoming Thursday, so you just have sort of an idea of what the library is operating like. have some more Facebook statistics for you, just so you can see what's going on there. And Canopy and Hoopla, because of course that's a streaming service. So during the pandemic, I consider that to be certainly an electronic item of note. So, all right, expenses. That's packet page 16. First, thank you to Nancy. We have been going through those Walmart bags, and it was of great value to us. So I appreciate you taking the effort of going down. We've certainly saved money by not having to purchase those bags.
I also sent them a thank you on our behalf.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Nancy. That really appreciate that. Let's see here. The one of the larger expenses, of course, were the plexiglass sneeze guard shields, but they have come in handy already, and it makes the staff feel more comfortable.
I assume you leave those up post-pandemic as well, probably. I mean, is that...
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, certainly, I don't plan on taking them down anytime soon, that's for sure.
I mean, they could be usable for any flu season.
Old seasons, yeah.
Yes, that is true.
Are you having any struggles obtaining any items at this point, or has that calmed down?
That has calmed down quite a bit. I would say the one item that tends to be tricky is the sanitizing wipes. We just started to get access to them. I mean, some libraries were like sending their staff into stores and trying to grab quantity of one off the shelf. Right, yeah.
I couldn't believe that there was actually one container left at Piggly Wiggly. I was like, treasure.
I was going to say, yeah, isn't it sad when that's like...
Yeah, exactly.
Remember toilet paper?
Yeah, now that's okay now. Now you
Yeah.
one little hand sanitizer container and one package of wipes was there, and they're in my house now. So
Congratulations. That is a victory for the day. So... so sanitizing wipes seem to be the one thing that's harder to find. We can't find the exact model that we used to buy, and we liked those. They were easy for patrons to wipe down the computers. Right now we have disinfectant spray that they can spray onto paper towels and then wipe. We were just able to get a big industrial tub. Again, not the brand we normally use, so we're going to try them out and see if it works. We have to mix the chemicals with some water and then dump the solution on the wipes to get them to be cleaning wipes. I think we're back in business on that. It seems like the productions have leveled off, so that's good. And
what's the difference between a mask and a face shield?
Great question. Oh, I should have brought one. Depending upon how late this meeting goes, I was thinking of taking you guys on a little tour through the library so you can see our setup for stuff. But a face shield is a plastic sheet that has a little rubber band on it, and so it goes down over your face. You may have seen, I know some people at Piggly Wiggly were wearing them.
Yes.
The value to that is your face is not covered. And so I know that for people who rely on being able to see mouths in order to understand, masks are just awful, right? They are awful. And for some people who feel claustrophobic or who have breathing issues, masks are not very feasible. Additionally, for my staff, when they are, I try to keep them behind the plexiglass shields, but there are times that someone's doing a resume and they need help at the computers, and a mask protects you from here, but the face shield does the entire face. So I bought them from a company that the police department also bought these. And so I got one for each of my staff members, and it's something that can be disinfected and reused. So, and I think Tracy had one. I think she demoed that for us at one point in a meeting. So,
Yep, we wear them at work.
awesome. Yeah. So, and yeah, Tracy had let me know that we can wipe them down, which is good. So, it's just another option. For my staff who wearing the masks is difficult for them, the face shield provides a different option for them as well. So,
I noticed I smile a lot at everybody, don't I? And people don't realize
Right, I know.
You're happy to see them.
Yeah.
If your face is covered. I like that shoe.
Yeah, it is very difficult in many ways. My staff have also reported that sometimes when they're talking on the phone to patrons, the patrons report that sometimes they can hear them and sometimes they can't as well. So, yeah, so I tried wearing it the other day, and it has it doesn't have great peripherals. If you're turning, it kind of hits your shoulder a bit, but in many ways it is I've lost all words. It is a benefit, or it has value, added value. Whew, okay. Great question, Nancy. So that's what the face shields are.
And they can be used by multiple people.
You know, that I don't quite feel comfortable with. Staff can reuse it, so I assigned one to each staff member. The concern that I would have about reusing it without having access to medical sanitization, is that a word?
Sounds good.
I'm sure at the hospitals they have, I think they can sterilize equipments in batches. I know the police department has access to the state's resources where they can send their face shields and get them sanitized and brought back. The problem is that the face shield has a foam liner on the inside, and my forehead sweats sometimes, and while we can sanitize the front and the inside, I don't think that foam divider would sanitize very well, and I just wouldn't feel comfortable giving it to different people. So it's not something we're going to hand out to patrons, because they actually are, they're about, I think, $3 a face shield, so that would be a quite an expensive give compared to a mask, but so those are the expenses. We're not having to buy as many gloves now because I'm not requiring staff to wear them. I'm just encouraging hand washing. Shouldn't have to buy any more sneeze guards. So I think the largest continued expense will be hand sanitizer and wipes, which we usually bought anyway, but I could see us going through more as we have patrons in the building. And then, of course, the masks. Those are the three expenses that I see continuing from this regularly.
One tip, I don't know if this might enable you to get masks reduced or even for free. My understanding is Home Depot has a glut of masks.
Really? Okay.
They can't get rid of them. One of my neighbors is like a regional rep for them, and she was telling me they were in a meeting and they were just being told, get rid of the mask, get rid of the mask, get rid of the mask.
Interesting. So maybe if I went in there with my puppy dog eyes and said we're a public library?
I'm just thinking. I mean, she told me this last week that maybe there might be an opportunity there.
Yeah, I'm going to go to Home Depot this weekend. Yeah. I have to go to Home Depot anyway.
No, that doesn't necessarily mean that they have a glut in the stores. It
Right.
might be online, but I don't know.
Yeah,
So
well,
for whatever it's worth, as I'm thinking about it, maybe that might be a way to
yeah.
stockpile some masks.
Like Walmart, they were so eager to help out. You know, what did you get, 200?
Yeah.
250,
Yeah.
you know, so maybe,
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Good advertising, though. Their names on it, right?
yeah. All right. Well, thank you for that heads up. That's
I have
really
no idea
great.
the quality, what they're like, nothing like that, but at least they have a lot of them. They have a surplus of them.
Yeah.
Maybe not even anymore. This was about over a week ago, but you never know.
It's worth asking
Yep.
for sure. Let's see. Packet page 17, revenue. Okay, so the part of this that I want to point out is you're going to see a line item on the first brick, this first section. It says total revenue impacted by closure. And you're going to see that it's a loss, or we're behind 6,154. And that seems icky and bad, right? And you can see where we're, if you look above in those highlighted cells, it's because we're not getting as much money for lost and damaged, fines, copy, printing, faxing, right? All of that comes into play from being gone or closed and not having access to that, or having items that were not due until June 1st. So at first glance, it will appear that we're $6,000 in the hole for revenue. But you'll notice that there's a number underneath that, $3,638. Our county reimbursement and our system reimbursement is actually higher than I expected by quite a bit. So in 2020, when I give the revenue expectation, we sort of guess or we think where we're going to be at. We're actually going to get $3,638 more this year. So because of that, in terms of our projections for net city support, what we thought we'd get for revenue and what we thought we would do for expenses, for revenue, we're going to get $3,638 more. So the total revenue loss because of that added boost right now is $2,516. So that number doesn't look quite as bad. And then you'll see the second brick below. I just labeled it expense savings / opportunity. And you had asked me last month, what would I do as I was trying to plan ahead for, believe it or not, we have 6 months left in the year after June. We're halfway through. So these are the accounts that I'm keeping an eye on and making sure that I'm managing that so that as I'm watching the revenue loss, I can balance it out. And we have some AV money that I did not distribute to the librarians because it wasn't necessary. And mileage, of course, I don't think we're going to go through our travel budget. So those first three are my first three accounts to target because I think they're, quote, the easiest. We're not going to damage other services by using those three funds. And then from there, we have a little bit extra in electronic materials that would have been earmarked for the Nooks that we don't necessarily need to spend money on. So that's my fourth account. Programming, it really just sort of depends. Of course, we haven't run as many programs this year, but there may be opportunity in the fall to do some extra programs or some more high-end programs or things like that. So I can certainly tap into that programming budget, but I'm also not ready to sacrifice it as the first line item because there's opportunity in the fall, I think, to do things. Of course, I could always tell the librarians, stop buying as many books, but we know in periods of economic uncertainty, libraries tend to see their circulation go up as people don't want to buy books. So I don't want to cut into that print materials until later if we start to get desperate. Last year we had some savings in processing supplies, so if that rings true again, there might be some money there. And for office supplies, there's usually a little bit left over that I spend on things that will help us but aren't essential, and so I can keep that in mind. So I am prepared to find savings, and we are not in. I'm prepared. So.
Now, does that include? Thinking out loud here. The cost of on the previous page 16, of your COVID-related supplies. So, because you got. What is it? Is it in the 64 or 61?
Nope, that's just the revenue loss. So if one were trying to say where are we ahead in expenses, I can make adjustments in those accounts, and then where are we behind in revenue, I can make adjustments in these accounts. So, it's very possible. There are always things that come up that I don't expect to spend money on, and so I think that. Probably these are things that are coming out of office supplies for the most part.
They are. That's what I probably should have asked is where is this coming out of? It's not a revenue item, but it's still a cost.
Yeah. So these are expenses. This is the expenses,
right.
And it's not that we're ahead in expenses or behind in expenses. Because again, there's always things that come up that we weren't necessarily planning on in budgets like office supplies and library equipment. So what I do here is I say, okay, well, We are spending more in office supplies than normal, but we're good in office supplies. And so maybe I won't be able to buy as much 3D printer filament at the end of the year. So so really I'm treating the COVID expenses as just, it's the cost of doing business, and we often have things that are the cost of doing business, and I will watch these line items here to both make sure that we don't go over in our expenses, and then also to offset the revenue loss. So. All right, so that's, okay, so then the next page, packet page 18, this is the service update that was posted on our Facebook page last Wednesday. It is also the service update that is posted on our COVID website. So when people go there and it says, when is the library open? It says June 18th, click here for more details. And this is basically the new summary of our changes and our services. So I'm just going to highlight a few things. I spoke with the city attorney, and what he said about mask wearing was, he said technically I could require it if I wanted to. He also said it's helpful to gauge what other libraries are doing, like what's the standard from other public entities. All the other libraries in our system are currently operating with the, for those libraries that are open to the public, about 12 of them are right now for browsing. We will join that group on Thursday. And there are another group after that that is doing appointments like we are right now. Every library, as far as I know, because I did a little audit, are strongly encouraging but not requiring masks. So far, it has, for patrons coming in for appointments, it's sort of been 50-50. There are patrons who are not interested in wearing masks, and then there are patrons who are. I received my first phone call today of a patron who would have liked us to require masks. So far, that's the first feedback that has been passed along to me about that. I am going to work with patrons. So currently, we're open at 10 for reasons that I'll get into in a minute. I'm going to work with that patron to let her in early so that she can be around when all staff are wearing masks, so that she can get access
Kind of
to
like
what.
the senior over at the grocery.
Exactly. So I will make sure that we can accommodate those patrons who have that concern.
Might you be opening a can of worms, though, if you want 40 people that want to do that?
It might be, and that would be. I don't know if that would be a problem. Let me think. So if we offer the time between 9 and 10, staff are already there. We're already here. We're just doing behind-the-scenes work. Certainly there might be a lot of people in the building, but our reduced occupancy level is actually 50. And weirdly enough, I took the COVID retail occupancy formula. So what are places like Target doing based on square footage? They're letting in only a certain amount of people based on certain regulations. I did our square footage math, and technically our reduced COVID occupancy is like 95, which I thought was really high. So I took that occupancy and I cut it in half. So our occupancy is going to be about 50. And so even if all those people really wanted that time, technically they'd be within our occupancy limit. What I have heard from my other libraries in the system who opened last week for browsing, they're not seeing large numbers, right? They're just not seeing a lot of people. And people who do come in, they grab their items and go. They're not too interested in lingering. So I'm curious to see if that follows suit. I do appreciate that, though, because you're right. I mean, I can't make an exception. I just have to advertise that, and it has to be available to everyone. I can't just say, you, Nancy, can come in, but no one else can. But what I can do is say that from 9 to 10, it's by appointment, and you have to wear a mask. And for people who are like, it's not right, I don't want to wear a mask, then they have between 10 and 8 p.m. to come and use the library. So, but anyway, for the most part, the mask wearing, we're strongly encouraging but not requiring. Staff are going to be doing a building cleaning schedule every 2 hours, so getting the doorknobs, handles, the bathroom counters and stuff like that. I did it the other day, and it took me 45 minutes to do. So it takes a while. But we only have a cleaning crew at night, so have to use staff for that during the day. We're going to continue to quarantine items for 72 hours. That has proven to be, up until June 1st, it hasn't been that big of an issue. But June 1st was when due dates started again. And so now when people see on their account that they returned an item, but it's still on their account because it's being quarantined, there are some concerns now, understandably. So we're just, as people call, we're assuring them we are backdating to the date that it was pulled from the book drop. There will be no fines related, to it. So we're just trying to assure people as...
Because we talk a lot, we're talking about books, but like we also have newspapers here.
Yep.
And, there's a lot of office type paper here, and I am not clear personally, and I've looked about what the policies are on those types of items. So what are you doing with those?
So we are putting our papers out. Most libraries are.
On the day they arrive?
Yep, on the day they arrive. Okay. And for COVID, from what I know, and someone correct me if you think you have differing information, paper, it seems to be 24 hours. I think that's what they said. 72 hours is...
days. That's why I'm just really confused right now about paper.
Yeah, yes.
So you're saying
24 hours for paper. Plastic is the 72 hours, at least the last update that I got.
That's good news.
Now, of course, it's not perfect, right? We put the paper out. We could have 7 people read it over the span of 8 hours.
Right.
But, it's sort of either do we offer it or not. People who are comfortable touching it are going to touch it, and people who aren't should not. And then people who do touch it, we're going to have hand sanitizer there, and I recommend that they wash their hands. It's hard to imagine, but, news is one of those things that if they're not getting it online, I want to be able to make sure they get ready access to it. It's important for people to know what's going on in the world. Or hide under a table and hope things change. Join me under the table. It's good to hide there. So we are going to see how it goes. If it becomes an issue, I can always, remove them. We are only there's only a couple seats open in the entire building because I am trying to encourage people to come in, grab their items, and leave. But I also know from an accessibility standpoint, they said you need to make sure you have a couple seats open. What if someone needs to sit down? And if someone wants to read the newspaper, that's fine. There is 1 chair in the newspaper area, actually 2, very far apart. So they are welcome to sit in one of those 2 chairs. Staff will be by every 2 hours to clean the surfaces. And in between, we have to hope that people are being responsible, knowing they're in a public space, of washing their hands and using the hand sanitizer. Our open hours...
Brittany, for something like this, 24 hours also for something like that?
Yeah, I mean...
There's a lot of paper that's...
Yep. And we did remove all of our brochures.
Okay, you did.
So what I tell staff is we're not going to eliminate the risk. All we can do is reduce as many contact points as possible. So a brochure about summer camp, we put those behind the desk. If someone wants it, they can ask for it, and we will hand them 1 copy so that we know that it hasn't been rifled through by other people. The newspaper, to me, it's a high enough priority where I want to give people the access to it who need it. So, open hours. So you'll notice we're not quite at our full open hours yet. So Monday through Thursday, 10 to 8 instead of 9 to 8:30. And Friday and Saturday, 9 to 4:30 instead of 9 to 5. The reason for opening later Monday through Thursday is curbside is a lot of work. The quarantining of the items is everything takes more time. And so I wanted to give staff that hour in the morning to check in the book drop, to clean their workstations, to get set up for the day. The closing a half an hour early is, again, because staff, they have very clear guidelines from me of how they clean the phones and the keyboards and the building as they shut down, because our cleaning crew will not clean computers, right? It's a risk for them to touch technology. They're not going to do that. So we need to wipe down all the public computers, the mice, our own workstations. So the staff need to be paid to do that. I don't expect them to do that on their own time. So that's why we have that half hour in the evening right now. I tried to get us back to as full hours as possible while still needing to make some adjustments based on current circumstances. So I see that remaining for a while. And especially if which I think I'm going to do it, again, I just got that patron call today, but if I do decide to have appointments from 9 to 10 for people who are higher at risk, we're basically at our full hours minus 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So. Oh, let's see here. So public space. People can come in. They can grab items. We will not be following patrons around. If they pull a Grisham book off the shelf and then put it back, I'm not going to have a staff member there spraying it. The reason for that is something that I call contact frequency, and that's basically, again, it would be impossible to do what I suggested. So what we have to do is logically think that a book that has been in someone's home for 3 weeks, has been touched by them multiple times, possibly sneezed, spilled a little bit of wine, maybe their kid touched it, maybe their partner grabbed it, maybe the dog, whatever. It's been in their house. It's been living with them for a while. So there's a higher degree of chance that it potentially encountered something. So we quarantine that. They grab a book off the shelf, look at it, and put it back. There's a much less degree of risk to that book. So we will not be quarantining items that someone pulled off and put back.
Yeah, but I've heard, and we all agree on so many things, is that really it's much harder to pick this up from a contact perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It's really the key are the droplets.
Yep, that's
Yep.
what they're saying, that they're not even sure that it actually is getting distributed
But
to a
if somebody
non-living
picks up the
thing.
Grisham book and sneezes on it,
Yeah.
but still, how
Yes,
long is that
yes.
going to
Right.
last?
Yes.
You know, and
Yeah.
how many people might touch that? I mean, you could make yourself crazy.
And we should all wear glasses because the eyes will let it in too.
Yep.
And
That's
we're
what those
putting the
face
mask-
shields, face shield.
And we're putting the masks on,
Right.
that's not
Yeah.
the whole thing, so.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I just happen to be a 4 eyes.
Right?
First time in your life, right?
Yeah. Comes in handy. Comes in handy.
There you go. Oh.
I do have a question about this section, just a quick one.
Mhm.
So somebody sets up an appointment, they're there for an hour, but there's nobody after them, then can they stay for 2, or do you?
Yep.
Are you being like really rigid about that hour? Because that's not a whole lot of time.
No, it's not. No, we are absolutely extending it if there's no one else who needs it. The reason for the initial limit is we had to reduce the amount of computers that were available so that people weren't sitting next to each other or across from each other. And so because of that, we were worried that someone could hunker down all day and there would be other people coming in or trying to schedule appointments for important things and they wouldn't get a chance. So the limit is to make sure that we are getting people access who need it. But if there's, like, we had a woman in here for 6 hours today.
Oh, wow.
So, after that first hour, we just keep looking over. No one's around. We know it's free. We just don't even bother her. Just leave her alone. She's good. So, yep. So we absolutely will extend that. And that will be true for the children's area as well. So I was talking to another library director who had their children's area open. So all of our toys are still locked away. We're not going to have that option. We are not going to... anyway, so he said, I'm just not seeing a lot of people bringing their kids in. They're not comfortable. And he said, I wonder if we did our children's area by appointment, if someone knew there's not going to be anyone else in there but me, maybe one other family, if maybe they'd feel more comfortable coming in. So I'm going to try it. I'm going to see. Maybe it's more effort or issue or drama than it's worth, but I'm going to start off by limiting it to 2 families per half hour. No size limit on the families, because that would be, no, you can bring Timmy, but you can't bring Susie, so,
Well, that's what they did with the boating, when they first opened up the boating. If your family has 6, you only have 2 on the boat. So it was like, okay,
Yeah.
well, you 4 have to stay home.
right.
And you're out in the middle of the
Dad and I are going, I mean.
Tie them to the back of the boat. Come on.
You're all in the same household.
Right. So we're, I have, and maybe this is a presumption, but I remember looking at the Muskego census. So even if there's an average family of 5, if I have 2 families of 5 in there, the space is big enough. They'll be able to monitor their kids. That family of 5 knows each other and is connected. So they just have to be apart from the other family of 5. So, well, and maybe they'd feel more comfortable letting their kids run around a little bit because. Speaking as someone who has a toddler, she has been in my house and in my backyard and at Retzer Nature Center. She's looking for new places to go, but I don't feel comfortable taking her into Target to wander around. So we'll see. Like I said, it may end up being unnecessary, but maybe if we set this up for success, people will feel comfortable coming in. So. Oh, let's see. Study rooms are available, and exam proctoring is back. This was that thing that I mentioned last month, the children's notice. Right now, the library board policy is 8 and above can be in the library without a parent or an adult. We're adjusting that to be 12. And it's just because I think there's a little bit more responsibility right now being in a public space than before, and so we want to make sure that we have that slight bump in maturity and slight ability to reason and use logic and be responsible.
Did we still offer tax help this season?
We did until ARP ended. So ARP, we were able to get through, let's see, we started in February, and of course we got through, I think, like the first week in March, and then we had to cancel all the appointments, and we told people at the time, we don't know if the ARP volunteers will be back. We just heard from them yesterday that for sure the volunteers are not coming back for this season. So that, of course, was very devastating. We usually go through, I can't remember how many appointments. And that's very hard for people who relied on that free tax service. And so that's a tragedy for them. And so I just another consequence of this that is frustrating. They will, they like us, they're happy with us. I'm sure they'll be back next year, but programs in person are canceled until further notice. And I'll go more into my future outlook for programs a little bit later when we get to that document. So we'll cover that in a minute. And our one public meeting room, this one is still available for 15 or less, and I came by that number based on how I thought people could effectively be socially distanced. So right now we're 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and then there's 11, 12, 13, 14, and then one person in the middle if they were presenting or something. So that's sort of the why that limit exists. I did it based on spacing. Meeting rooms 1 through 3 are still offline because that's where we're quarantining the books. Otherwise, I would open them too. And our story time room is offline because we have a lot of furniture and stuff stored in there. So
do you foresee, what guidelines lead you to make decisions on when all of this special treatment ends?
Yeah, that's a good question. A couple of things. We're certainly looking at what the CDC is saying. We're looking at what state and county recommendations are as well, because they issue guidelines. The mayor sends me weekly updates on all department heads. I'm not just special. On cases, like new cases, existing cases. So I'm watching those trends. So that's informative. The State Library, Public Library Services Division of the DPI, they issue guidelines and recommendations as well. So, and that's really tailored to libraries. So that's a very interesting resource. There's also, at our system level, we're meeting more frequently right now. The directors are meeting every 2 weeks, so we're sharing knowledge with each other and what have you seen, what have you heard. There are some municipalities that have their own city public health divisions, so those library directors I sort of poke at a little bit more frequently and say, so what has your public health officials said? So I'm looking at all of those entities. I'm not focusing on just one. I'm sort of using that to try to understand the full spread of it. Really what led me to being ready for this next phase, the one we're going to engage in on Thursday, was in part seeing what our other libraries were doing and what strategies they were using. In part, we did get an update from the state about things to do. Actually, our system is ahead of other libraries. I don't know whether to be proud of that or not. We'll find out how well this goes on Thursday, and then I'll know if that was a brag or a foolish decision. But many of the other libraries are just starting to get their van delivery service up again, starting to offer appointments. So we're a bit ahead by, I would say, 3 weeks or so compared to the rest of the state. We, the system, not just us. The cases were starting to go down, so that was certainly a factor. The ability to get supplies was a big factor in being able to make this shift. And certainly I was listening to the public as well. I know that people were excited to get back in the library, so I didn't let that fully sway me, but that, in the context of the other things that I was getting, made it seem like now was the time to try it.
So many people have said to me, you don't value your library until you lose it.
Yeah.
It just, yeah.
The truth.
Yeah, take it for granted.
Yeah.
So many things, right? So many things that we... I love grocery shopping. I miss being able to casually walk through the grocery store and ponder over the peanuts. So now it's like if I do go in, I'm like, let's get out of here. So that was the announcement that went out. We've posted it. I just updated the signs on the building. We posted it on our Facebook page. The city posted it on their Facebook page. It's on our digital sign. I'm going to send out a news flash to our subscribers starting either tomorrow or Thursday. That is so beautiful.
I apologize.
Oh, I love that.
I apologize.
I really like
I
it.
forgot to shut it
Church
off.
calling you?
No, that's very relaxing. I love the sound of church bells. So those were the places I started to advertise it. Off the top of my head. So yeah, well, let's see. I think that was the big. A lot of what we've been doing the last couple of days is testing out line management strategies. So how can we have people line up safely if we get lines? Where are those lines going to go? How can we still have those lines, but then also keep our curbside traffic going? Because we're still going to have staff running in and out doing curbside. When do we end curbside? So those are the things that we're starting to look at and think about. So
A lot of places are just simply putting little X's on the floor, 6 feet apart for lines.
we were very lucky. Sussex Public Library bought too many big red circles with little footprints on it that said, wait here, social distance. So she sent them to me for free, and now we have them on our library floor. So
All right.
we can thank Sussex for helping us out there. All right, so before I move on to Muskego Library Facebook stats and some of the other electronic usage that's been happening during the pandemic, was there anything else about what's happening Thursday that you might have questions about or concerns about? Or
Said we got it pretty well figured out.
it all works in theory,
Yeah.
right? And then It's like, I imagine it's like a teacher, right? You plan your lesson plan and you think, I got this is good. And then they come in and...
Yep, you adjust.
Yep.
And basically, it's like life, you make plans and God laughs at you.
Yeah.
He has other plans.
Yep. Well, hopefully those are good plans for Thursday. All right, packet page 19. This was a document, or I had shown you some Facebook statistics early on in this. I believe the document showed you a comparison of our Facebook statistics from February to March. I thought it would be interesting to go back and see what's been happening in April and May, just because that's where all of our children's programming has been living, and certainly where a lot of our updates have been coming from. And I thought it would be helpful as you look at the numbers, because they're doing some interesting things, to sort of see the context of the circumstances. So as you're looking at how the numbers changed from February to March, from March to April, and April to May, just sort of keep in the back of your mind that from March 15th through April 28th, we were just doing virtual support, virtual programs, and calling and emailing people and helping them get access to virtual resources. April 29th through May 27th is when curbside started. So people who maybe have been like, I don't need to bother with this ebook anymore, it's frustrating, I don't like it, now I can get my physical materials back. And then May 28th to present is when in-building appointments started, in addition to curbside and virtual. So obviously from February to March, the numbers exploded.
Well, the weather wasn't as good then either, so the kids
Also
were
true.
more in-house
Very
looking
true.
at things versus, May,
Mm-hmm.
they were starting to finish up, well, not Muskego necessarily, but finishing up with schoolwork, not doing as much schoolwork, and being
Yep.
outside more.
Yep. And they
Choosing not to do homework.
choosing not to.
Yeah.
There's a lot of choices.
Making bad choices.
Yeah.
My sister's a teacher, and she talked a lot about those choices that kids were making. And so I think that the weather, and also May 13th was when the stay-at-home order was lifted. So there were more opportunities to do things outside of the home.
Right.
So we're seeing those shifts occur, which is not unexpected. So those are our Facebook numbers. Still more than they were in February, that's for sure. All right, moving right along. This, I don't think warrants a long discussion, but again, it's more relevant as you leave today and you think about it between now and July when we vote. Canopy, just as a quick reminder, Canopy just has streaming films. They're about $2 per film, and patrons can have up to 5 a month. It's different from our other databases because it costs money to use as opposed to per click, as opposed to paying for a database in advance, and then if 1 million people use it or if 2 people use it, it costs the same amount. So the good thing with a token-based service like this is that you're paying for actual usage. So there's nothing more heartbreaking than having a database that you paid $6,000 for, and you end up getting 100 uses throughout the year. The cost per use on that is devastating when you do the math. However, the problem with token-based systems is that you never know, right? You're both saying, use this, and then you're also going, oh, God, they used it. It cost us more money. The reason why we went with Canopy is that it was a streaming film service even before the pandemic. We know streaming is a platform, as a library. We don't want to fall behind in the types of platforms that we have. We want to stay innovative and on the edge of the technology. As one of you pointed out, you can see that the numbers have increased from 2019 to 2020 on that previous document. Then, right as the pandemic was starting, and this was purely a coincidence, and also, again, I know I shout us out all the time on this, but we were the first library in the system to have a streaming film collection, so good for you all to encourage this innovation. But then the other library directors started thinking that maybe something like this would be helpful as well. And so we did a trial of Hoopla the start date was April 1st. So you can imagine the timing on this was both amazing and awful. It was amazing because all of a sudden here we have access to an explosive amount of instantaneous access to electronic resources that really helped our patrons. The problem is we don't know what the average use is going to be. The trial was really helpful. We were hoping to sort of determine, is this going to be a value to us or not? Of course, more people were headed towards streaming stuff than normal, so we look at this data and go, maybe this is a good reflection of usage, maybe it'll be less, maybe it'll be more. We just don't know. And really, from a 3-month trial, you don't get a lot, so in my opinion, similar to Canopy, you sort of have to commit to a year, and then over the year, see what the usage is like. So if you look at this document, you'll see that Canopy and Hoopla total for 2020 from January, obviously we just had Canopy, in February and March, so those are just Canopy numbers for the first 3 months. But then you'll see that 310 and 167 was the combination of Canopy views and Hoopla views. And then you can see the breakdown underneath that. So interestingly enough, come April, 79 Canopy views, 231 Hoopla views. And that's the newer platform. So you could argue there hasn't been as much time to advertise it. So the reason why Hoopla is so much more, those numbers ticked up high, is because, like I sort of summarized at the beginning, Canopy's just streaming film. Hoopla is ebooks, audiobooks, comic books, all that stuff. And, you know, sometimes I can be a little overconfident about some things. Not usually in front of you all, but sometimes in the director meetings I can get a little swagger. And they were all like, you know, Brittany, streaming films is not going to be the most popular thing that Hoopla brings. It's going to be the ebooks and audiobooks. And I said, you're nuts. That's crazy. We don't have streaming film elsewhere aside from us. I'm like, they're going to eat this up. That's going to be the most popular. And I was very wrong about that. So the majority of the Hoopla usage from our patrons was ebooks and e-audiobooks. So they're clearly desperate for more of that content. But unlike Overdrive, where you get the most popular book and then you're number 231 on the holds list, Hoopla, you click it and you're good. You're reading that book right away. You're listening to that audiobook. So I was wrong. So let the record show that I was wrong on that. But I think that sort of explains why Hoopla had so many more uses than Canopy, even though we've had Canopy for a full year.
Do you have any idea, and I'm not saying you should because of privacy issues,
Mm-hmm.
but is there any way to track, you know, if people are using both services, if you have more, how many are really unique users versus duplicates?
That's a good question.
That kind of thing. I don't know how you track that because I can't imagine that it tracks by your library card for privacy reasons. So.
Canopy does, but
Canopy
Hoopla does not. At least I don't have access to that I know of. But to be honest, April 1st, when Hoopla started, I was doing a few other things. So there's a whole analytics side of Hoopla that I have not explored. So I'll make a note to see if that's possible.
To me, I mean, if we're duplicating services also, then, you know, all the more reason to make a decision on one, I guess. So.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, Canopy has been so easy to work with, and I hate to ditch Canopy because, you know, we've invested a year in advertising it and getting people aware of it, and there's nothing worse than getting someone settled in on something and then telling them, oh yeah, remember that account you made? We're switching.
Forgive me for not remembering, but wasn't Hoopla part of Bridges, and wasn't there going to be something going on with them, and what happened with that?
Yep. So the Hoopla trial is part of the Bridges trial. Every library in our system is currently.
Everybody else seeing the same similar data too? And don't you have to make a decision as Bridges as a group?
Weirdly, we don't. I thought we would, but apparently, individually, we can make this decision. The trial was for all of us, and Bridges paid for it so that every library had the same opportunity to try it out, because for smaller libraries, trials can often not be possible. They can't afford it. But yeah, even if only we decide we want to do it, it's fine. And it's not a cooperative type purchase. So, for instance, if it's going to cost us the same amount of money, whether all 24 libraries do it or whether just Muskego does it.
Usually that's not.
I know, isn't that interesting? I asked it 3 times because I was that disbelieving in that statement, but yeah, Hoopla offers quite a bit more, and it's not really any. There are some items that are more expensive per use than Canopy, but you can also limit and say, don't give any access to any items to my patrons that are above $2. So you can really fit it to your budget. And similar to Canopy, there's a ripcord option. If you start to run out of money, if you're like, oh my gosh, I did not anticipate it would be this popular, you can end the service. And then bring it back next year. Obviously not great for customer service,
Right.
but there is a way to stop the hemorrhaging of money, which is obviously very appealing to someone as a budget manager, and I'm sure to you as a board.
Can you do that by month, or does it have to be for the year?
By month, yeah. So, but you do have to give them 30 days notice. So once you realize you're like, ooh, we're averaging 500 a month, and I had predicted 2,000 for the year, you have to sort of predict like, okay, we need to end by. But that's also helpful because you want to give your patrons notice anyway that you can't do it. So Hoopla and Canopy are set up very similarly in that way. Yeah. So anyway, just take a look at this and think about it. So as we talk next month, even next month we wouldn't have to make a decision because again, a Canopy I can cancel at any point, and I had projected to cover Canopy through the end of the year, and the Hoopla trial is going to last through at least July, August, maybe even September. So it's more about us just sort of saying, what money do we want to set aside in 2020? Really what you need to decide by next month is if we don't need either of them, if you don't want either of them, then I don't have to set that money aside. That's the big decision. Otherwise, we have until like December, which is nice because we'll get more Hoopla usage data by then to sort of see. So, yeah. So anyway.
Brittany, I'm going to move because for some reason I'm freezing.
Yep, I know.
It's freezing.
It's really cold in here.
Yes, it's really
I tried to jam it up to 72, but we are stuck. And
I didn't bring a sweater.
do you want to try to move? I mean, if you're you could try to move towards the center. That's
I'm good.
okay.
I'm good.
Yeah, you didn't have a sweater on.
I know. I didn't realize.
It's just as cold over here though, so.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I walked in here and I went, oh man, this is not great.
Text and bring a sweater.
I know. I should have come in.
I'll remember next time.
I should have come in here earlier. Oh, let's see. Was that it for? Oh yeah, the next one is the program notice, which is packet page 21. So anything else about service level 4? You've sort of seen insight into our virtual environment, and I sort of explained what's going to happen on Thursday and what we're currently doing.
Any questions or concerns? Well, this looks to me like a very solid plan, and kind of per our discussion in our little bantering, all you can really do is do the best that you can, with the understanding that I think some of this is certainly going to be kind of trial by fire, and you may have to come back to the drawing board and readjust. So, but it looks like you guys are off to a solid start and have a very good plan in place. So thank you for all this
Thank
info.
My question is, do you ever sleep?
Not well. I have not slept well in a while. But I'm sure that's true of many people, right? We all have burdens that are keeping us up at night. So I wish I would stop having nightmares about the library. I got into an argument with a contractor in the library the other night. He and I really got into it. I don't know where that came from. So anyway, yeah, Appreciate the well wishes, and I'll pass that along to the staff. They'll appreciate it. They've been working very hard. So.
Okay. All right, well, if nothing else on that point, why don't we move along to new business item number 2, discussion, and it looks like possible action on the library service program notice.
So I should have put a draft watermark on this, and I apologize. Anytime that I'm presenting a document that I'm hoping you will endorse or lay your weight behind, I should really put a draft watermark on it so it doesn't look like you've already signed it. So that is omitted, and I'll remember that for the future. The background on this document is, wait, should we do a motion first? What I'm looking for is an approval, an endorsement by the board of this document. So,
Okay.
You can't do that without reading it.
oh, well, sometimes in the past, now correct me if I'm wrong, sometimes I just launch into stuff before there's a motion on the floor. So do you want me to explain it first, or do you want the motion
If you
first?
explain, then people can decide whether they want to make a motion or not to vote for it. I think a little
Right.
explanation, it's the discussion period that has to happen.
Got it. Okay. You remember, I sometimes launch into things and then I do it out of order. So I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't doing it out of order. Okay. So the thought here was that starting Thursday, we will be back to offering most of our services in some way, shape, or form. Some of them have adjustments, right? Like we're open an hour later than we normally are, or we don't have as much seating in the building, so we're trying to encourage people to be in and out. But by and large, people's ability to come in the building, access the collection, access electronic resources, reserve a meeting room, use the study rooms, proctor and exam, that list of services that we offer, they're available starting Thursday. The one that is not, and most of them are almost fully crystallized, right? Like they're going to get the benefit from that service as it looks like, almost to the 100%. We're having to go about it a different way. The programs is the one aspect that is not as fully offered as our other services, in that we're still doing our virtual programs for children, and we're testing out a virtual adult program, and like I said, we're going to be doing the thing like the shredding program. I have reasons for that are listed here. Access to presenters, the fact that it's a close quarter gathering, challenges maintaining social distance and hygiene with younger crowds. I know that younger crowds aren't as likely to catch the virus as people older than kids, but it's still something that I want to be mindful of. So what I was hoping for is sort of just a statement by the board noting that and noting the reasoning. And similar, this is not a policy, it's an endorsement that the board is backing this. And I don't have a date when programs will return in person because I just don't know. I'm not quite there yet. Our parks and
We might get ready, but none of the presenters will want to do anything yet.
right.
That's
So
true.
it's that domino.
Yeah,
Domino.
yeah, and for children, there are some places. I mean, obviously daycares are open, and our Parks and Rec department started doing some of their outdoor programs again, limiting, but that's outside. The school district, they're doing some summer school. You said, what is the limit on summer school?
They are having no more than 12 students in a room, and there will be, depending on the needs, a teacher and an aide, and depending if they need more. But they're moving them like all the time so that there isn't more than, they're trying to keep that, the 10 ratio.
Okay.
but there's constant movement. And I don't know, and they're really, it's practice for fall.
Sure.
It
Right.
really is, okay, how can we get this clean, how can we do this, can we do that, how far can we let them go in the building, and yeah, so it's really a practice.
Yeah.
And they're using the largest elementary, so if they need to, they just keep spreading out and spreading out.
Sure.
So they're even playing it by ear, and so there's about 300 kids who will be attending.
Okay. I'm just curious, what is the normal amount of interest in summer school? Is it?
Around 900 to 1,000.
Okay, so it's about a third.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and they're just doing the intense academics.
Okay.
What they'll do then is online, they'll have all kinds of enrichment that will be
Supplemental.
given to kids and options, and they pick up kits or what have you, what they need for their classes.
Women's Club canceled Safety City for the first time in 41 years.
Yeah. My church is our holiday bazaar. I'm usually in charge of the bake sale, and they're like, "Can we even run a bake? Like, is that? Who knows what November will look like?" But yeah, it's. So I'm just going to give you a little stats, and then you can ask me, or not stats, but a few more pieces of information to sort of give background on this. All 24 of our member libraries in our system are currently only offering virtual programming for kids, especially, and I think adults too. When I talked to them last Friday, most plan on continuing to only offer virtual programs for the summer at least, and then they're planning on reassessing for the fall, or possibly introducing some things in late summer, but definitely not now or in July. I am going to be working with the librarians. They're already starting to do some brainstorming, and then I'm going to meet with them. The meeting is going to be, what do you need to bring back programs? I want to start that conversation early. So what would you need? What would that look like? What's the time frame? What are the barriers to starting programs? So we're going to be having those conversations now so that we can be ready when and know what we need to be ready. Right now, even if we did feel comfortable doing programs, which I'm not quite there yet, the staff are very busy with the reopening and the backlog and cataloging and the summer reading and whatnot. So there's other tasks that I'm having them prioritize right now as well.
Do you have feedback from, for the younger kids, from parents? Would they even want to have programs, or what's their interest? Because at this point, maybe there isn't that much interest.
Right. Yeah, and one of the things, I'm glad you mentioned that, when I meet with the librarians and as they go through that list, I do think one of the things is to gauge interest. We can put some type of survey up sort of saying, like, what is your comfort level? So I don't have a good sense of that right now. What I'm hoping, and again, speaking of trials and experiments, I think the next couple of weeks are going to be very interesting. Are we going to get kids in the library? I think that's going to be a first sort of test. If they're not willing to even come in the building, they're not going to be interested in coming in for a program. So that's going to be an interesting sample size. And from there, it will sort of tell me, are we ready to push out a survey and start to gauge further interest? So I'm going to make a note of a survey when we're ready. And yeah, it's.
And, this is any indicator, but St. Paul's, has opened up, and they are only getting about 25%. So
Sure.
People are just not locking back church either.
Yeah.
So, I don't know 25% of what, I guess, because this is appointments and, it's a new baseline. So it's kind of like, how do you gauge 25% of something you don't know that you haven't done before?
At St. Leonard's, you have to actually make an appointment to come to Mass.
Oh,
That's how
really?
they keep track of their 25%.
Yeah.
Are we doing 25? It looks pretty empty.
It does.
Yeah.
But remember, that room holds 978 people. We have 90 attending. you're certainly within the limits of. But right now, we have to reserve a spot to go dance.
Right.
My what I'm going to be doing starting Thursday is I've assigned a staff member to the lobby with an app. It's an occupation tracker app. And so I don't know if they've been doing this at Target. Every time someone comes in, you tap. Every time someone leaves, you tap. And it keeps adding and subtracting your base number. So I'm going to do that at least for a week. And that, to me, is going to gauge traffic. What I've heard from other libraries who opened last week is that it ended up sort of being a waste of a position. Like the person was stranded out there, they couldn't do anything, and they never even got close to their occupancy. So I'm going to start by assigning a staff member, me and a couple of other people, because I want managers at the front of the building to start. And we're going to see how close we are to occupancy. If we are so far away from it, I may pull that staff and then just sort of do walkthroughs, and if I feel like it's getting full, then re-put someone back in that lobby position.
And your occupancy is half of what?
Half of what the retail formula was, yeah, 50.
Yeah.
And that's based on the square footage of the interior. I didn't even count the meeting rooms because they're not part of that, and not the staff area either. So.
Do you really see 50 people at a time? I don't think I've ever noticed 50 in here at a time.
In the summer, yeah.
Oh,
With
the
the
children's
kids?
programs?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Yeah, but that's a program. I'm talking about just traffic, foot traffic.
General browsing, no. I don't think we'd ever get 50 at one time. In the summer, I can tell you that per day we'd get about 500 for the day. So you could easily see there potentially being 50 per hour, but without the programs, without the children's programs,
Right.
I don't think we'll get close to 50, at least for now.
Before we get to a motion or whatever,
Mhm.
I'm a little perplexed here why you wouldn't just post this as a notice. Why are you looking for board
That's a great question.
acceptance on this? Because to me, why is it any different than any
Yep.
other notice you would put up on that?
I'm looking for a little bit of board support on it. I'm trying to get a little extra teeth on this one. And it's not because of anything I've heard. I'm just trying to look ahead a bit. This I see as being something that will last maybe a bit longer than people may want,
Okay.
right? And like I said, I could see potentially the summer going by. Now, maybe not. I'm monitoring everything at all times. Maybe by August 1st, we'll be able to have children's programs by registration, limit however many we can fit in the story time room. It would just be nice, seeing as this is the sort of, again, the last service that we're not really having back with a good modification, right? Curbside's a good modification. Programming, the virtual is good, but we all know that in person, especially children's programming, is much more effective when they're in the room and they're dancing and they're... So I would prefer, since this is sort of the holdout, and it could be a little bit, I would prefer a bit of... I want people to know that the board knows this, right? That it's not just me humming along and doing what I want. I want them to know that the citizen board who is looking over the library is aware of this. So that's sort of why I'm bringing it before you today. So that's sort of my background. If there's anything else I can answer about it, I'm happy to do it.
So are you looking for a motion of approval, or are you looking for a motion of endorsement? What are you looking for?
What am I? I guess either or. I'm looking, what I want to be able to do is if someone says to me, why, I think it should be back, why aren't you having it next week? The library is open, so why aren't you having programs, right? I could see that being a question that comes up. And I want to be able to say, well, here are the reasons why: access to presenters, close quarter gatherings, challenges maintaining social distance. I'm happy to make those statements.
Discuss it with the board and...
Yep, and then if they say, I think that's wrong, then, this is something...
Yep. I think that certainly is fine. In my humble opinion, I think you're really looking for a motion for endorsement, because this is not a yes or no, we're doing programs or we're not.
Right. Yep.
Not that anybody's going to vote it down. But I think it's a semantics question here at the moment. But
Yeah.
I would think you're looking, so I guess you want me to do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I move to endorse the notice about Muskego Public Library programs.
All right, Gail, thank you. Is there a second on that?
I'll second.
Barb, thank you. Any further discussion?
I just have a question. Will you put on here somewhere? Will you note it as endorsed by the?
Yeah, I'll add the words
That-
endorsed by Muskego Public Library.
Anything else? Any questions or concerns? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor of attaching the board's endorsement to this notice about the library's programs, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that motion passes unanimously. The board endorses this policy.
And Brittany, I just had another thought. Does it at all make sense, this is really up to you, a statement like we are revisiting this policy monthly, whatever, might that give patrons some assurance? And I don't know what the parameters should be. I don't even know what should be in there. I'm just thinking out loud. We've already voted on it, but it just got me thinking, well, we were going through that process, or if you just want to remain silent on that.
Okay, yeah, let me
Let
me
you
see.
most certainly can.
Sure.
It just got me thinking that maybe
Sure.
if you're concerned about that patron who says, oh, you should be doing it, or, so next month, let's say 6 libraries start doing it, that maybe that's just something to.
Well, maybe it's even a wording as this policy will continue to be reviewed as, not times are changing.
Conditions.
Yes.
Yeah,
Conditions.
this policy will
Yeah.
continue to be reviewed.
So it just doesn't seem so arbitrary that it's never going to happen again.
It's not a gone fishing sign. Be back in September.
I'm sorry, I stumped on after the fact, but.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Good point.
Actually, aren't all policies like that?
Yes.
Subject to,
Yeah.
Mhm.
But you're right. I do think in all of this, people's biggest fear is that nothing will ever change.
Right.
And they're just lost in an abyss, which we don't want them to feel lost in an abyss. So,
Well, we feel their pain. We're people too. We're with
Yeah,
them.
we're all lost in our own little personal abysses.
yeah.
Yeah, there's just so many unknown variables.
Yeah.
That's the problem. So. All right, very good. Thank you, everyone. Moving ahead then, discussion, item number 3, discussion on the 2021 budget.
Okay. My goodness. So it's 7 o'clock, and so I am going to try to be very mindful of your time on this. This discussion is merely the springboard. Really, what I wanted to do was make sure that you guys had the baseline, the sort of broad strokes, so that when strategic planning meets, specifically for the capital stuff, there's already things churning in the mind. It's not like we're sitting down fresh and haven't thought about it in weeks. And then in July, when you meet, there's already been some baselines established. So that is the main goal. So I'm just going to jump right into packet page 23. As you can imagine, the strategic plan, there are many things that we're moving along on, and there are some things that have taken a bit of a back seat. But this is these were the general projects of the capital plan. And we have a new member here, Nancy, so I'm just going to go over that the 2021 is the area that needs the most definition because it's what's happening next year, and it's the money we actually need to ask for. 2022 through 2025 are just broad ballparks. They're projects that we see coming down the pipeline. And it's helpful for the city because they don't want to be surprised, right? For instance, our roof replacement's coming in 2025. They would not want me to give them a year's notice on that. They would want to know that the library needs a new roof coming up. So the 2021 is where a large portion of the discussion takes place. These projects came out of the strategic plan. So with the exception of... No, I think all of them, I don't think I went rogue anywhere. So these all came from our strategic plan. We just finished our strategic planning process last year, gathering all that data. So these are the projects. And I've been working the last couple of weeks to try to get more realistic numbers for 2021 especially. So the additional documents you see further in the packet are sort of documents that I thought would be helpful that are attached to the 2021 projects. So let's just dive into that. But you know what, Nancy, for your benefit, I guess I will just say, carpeting and flooring, the whole library, we're planning to get it recarpeted. The public meeting rooms were first, and the back staff area. Then our next step is to do the main area. And it's a nightmare project. I don't want to do it, personally. Me as a library director, I know I have to do it, but personally, I don't want to do it because it involves carpeting around the stacks, the collections, and that's going to be a nightmare. So, but anyway, so that big chunk of money is to do the big main area of the library.
I'm a very conservative person, and as I look at this room, I don't see anything wrong with this carpet.
This is the new carpet.
This is new.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. So the public meeting rooms were
And I've been
done.
here every month with Women's Club, and I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
this is new.
This is the new. But I'm glad. If it already looked bad, I would be having words with the carpeting
Sorry,
company.
I didn't notice.
No, well, that's okay. I mean, we wanted it to be a soothing carpet. That just tells me that it was soothing you.
Okay.
So yeah, the main area carpet is 20 years old, so it's about time for a refresh there. We're starting to see snags and stains and tears and things like that. Public furniture, we put money into public furniture to keep our furniture fresh as well. So our public meeting room tables and chairs are in good condition. They don't need to be swapped out. A lot of our wooden furniture is starting to get wobbly and old, or it's just not comfy for people, and it's not ADA accessible. So we found that out from the project. So looking to use that money to correct that. We had taken out the 20-year-old soft sofa chairs and bought new of those plush chairs. So that's typically what public furniture goes to. The young adult area redesign, I'll talk more about that project in a minute, but our teen area is not as functional as it could be for our younger audience. And our service desks, in 2021, we were hoping to do the reference desk as we're recarpeting. It's a great time as we're lifting up the carpet to put a desk down. That desk is, there's 3 major things wrong with it, and I can talk about that at greater length, but the first major problem is that the technology sections are set up to be facing away from the front doors and away from technology, and from a security perspective and from a patron approach perspective, they tend to come from the opposite directions of where my staff are positioned. And you can't just move the chairs because the desk doesn't exist on the one end, and on the other end it's too high and we don't have the technology space. So beyond that, the desk is actually starting to break. The drawers keep breaking. It's a 20-year-old desk, so it could use a swap. So those are the projects for 2021, and I can talk more at greater length about the projects in the future, but I want to be mindful of the time, so I can answer individual questions later about that, but we'll hop ahead to packet page 24, great room carpeting logistics options. I wanted you to see these 4 options as we look at that capital request, because obviously it's quite a bit of money. That's a big capital project. And there are 4 ways to do it. And so, again, we don't have to discuss this at great length. I want you to have the information, and then you think about it so that it's, as we think about what money we need to formally ask for the carpeting, next month you can think about this. So the issue is how to carpet underneath the shelving with the least amount of impact. The factors are money, staff time, and accessibility to the collection. So option 1 is sort of doing what we did for the children's area. You rent a bunch of wooden carts, throw everything on the carts. But unfortunately, we can't do the same thing that we did for the children's area. The children's area project was so long that we had the time to move the shelves to the great room, throw all the books on there. With this project is at most a 2-week project. Also, we're recarpeting the great room, so there's no place to put the shelves. So for this project, we actually have to dismantle all the shelves. And if we were to do the cart option where the staff would be doing the unloading, we would need to we would have to rent around 189 carts is the math that I did based on our collection size, to store all the books on the carts and then put those carts somewhere. And it wouldn't fit in the great room. So we would either have to shove all the carts in our meeting rooms and just close off the collection, because there wouldn't be room for us to slide in here and pull books for people. Or we would have to take all the books off the shelves, put them on carts, move those 189 carts into the great room, if we can fit all 189 carts there. Then the company, someone, DPW or a company we'd have to pay, dismantles all the shelves and screws them from the bases, recarpet the adult collection area, and then, like a shell game, they would have to leave for a while. They'd have to leave for about 2 weeks. We would need to get the shelves rebuilt back. Then we would have to have staff move all 50,000 books back onto the shelves, and then we'd have to have the carpeting crew come back to then carpet the great room. So that's option 1. The issue there is, at minimum, I did some pricing. At minimum, the renting of the carts would cost us about $8,000. That's cheaper than option number 4, certainly. But also the issue with this option, or not an issue, the realistic timeline for this project is it goes from 2 weeks to probably a 4 or 5 week project, because we have to have the carpeting crew leave, and it's going to take the staff time to unload the shelves, put them onto carts, get the shelves taken down. So all of that's going to take some additional time.
Could that be done by volunteers? How many books are in your collection?
For the adult collection, 52,000. For volunteers, that question came up when we moved to the children's area. Mm-hmm. At the time, I talked to the city attorney, and he recommended no because of potential injury.
Liability.
Yeah.
In Greendale, when we moved our library, they had all the patrons take the books out.
Did they really?
And take them home for the period of time. They were given grace period or whatever at
Sure.
that time. So there were hardly any books to worry about, because the community came in and checked the books out and took them home until...
Please take all 52,000 items off our shelves.
I don't know how many we had at that
Did they
time.
sign a waiver then in case anything?
A lot of work for the staff, though, checking things
Yeah.
in and out.
So-
But you're probably a much larger library than we were
We
at
have
that time.
volunteers, and you really need the people who work in the setting to put them on the shelves correctly, because you could take them off and put them on. But if you don't know that system, we just have 1 or 2 people do it, and I've moved 4 buildings, so we've gotten really good at the practice of it. And we literally have the same person who takes it off, put it back on the shelves, just so there isn't a mix-up and you end up with your collection not flowing like it
Completely
should.
skewed. Oh.
And that happened even with people who had worked with them, touched them, enjoyed them, whatever you want to say about it. But it was hard not to just have
even limit that number. Brittany, call me crazy, but I'm just thinking about this. We were talking about Walmart being so very cooperative about things, and, not necessarily suggesting them, but have you ever considered taking the books off site? Meaning, for an example, that you put X number of carts in a semi,
Yep.
take them off site somewhere, like say Walmart donates the semi for the day or however long it takes. I realize you still have to do the 189 carts, I get all of that.
Yep.
But have you ever considered an off-site option?
That's
Maybe storing them in the trucks, if it really came down to it, because I don't know where there might be another space in the city, but,
Is that what number 3
Space hold
is?
100,000
Yeah.
books
Yeah.
right here?
I'm sorry, I can't hear
Wouldn't
you,
this
Nancy.
space here hold 50,000 books?
Or
on.
the meeting rooms, all of them together probably.
It's possible. It's possible that all 4 meeting rooms would, but on carts, because you're not just stacking them in corners to
Right,
the
right.
ceiling.
You can't stack
We'd have to
carts.
fit 189 carts. It's a possibility. Storing them in a semi would make me a little nervous in terms of temperature, depending upon when we
Exactly.
do it. But your option,
Taking them off-site then, if you can't store them in there.
that's option number 3. So hiring a moving company to remove the shelves and books and store while install takes place.
Oh, I guess when I didn't see remove off-site, I just saw remove, I guess, so I was thinking that way, but if that's what you meant, great.
Yep, yeah, and I do have to get a quote from that company. It's called Jurgis. They're professional library movers. They're actually the ones who would give us the carts for one, not give us, rent us the carts for one.
Okay.
So I had them come to give us a quote before. I remember it was expensive enough to have me not go with them for the children's area, but I don't remember the price, so I need to have them come back. So that's why, again, this is sort of an initial discussion. By next month, I will have a number for number 3. I will also have a number formally for number 1. Like I said, at minimum, number 1 is $8,000 for just the carts, but
The staffing would be,
So do these companies have any competitors? Or like, the Jurgis or some, I don't have my hearing aids in again. They don't have any competitors? There's just no.
they could.
Okay, so
Yeah.
why would we be getting competitive bids from all of them, or is just one so much more superior than another?
Jurgis is local, and we've used them before. And they're a moving company that specifically moves libraries. There may be another company similarly local. For a moving company like this, you don't want to pay them to have to drive too far to get to us. Otherwise, that costs more in fuel and trucks and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So I'm definitely still investigating, and I can see if there's another library moving company.
Because competition always helps.
Yep.
And I guess the other part of it is, I don't know what kind of demand there might be right at the moment with the pandemic. I don't know how many people are undertaking, or libraries are undertaking these kind of projects.
Right. And of course, this is for 2021.
True.
What really makes me cry is that wouldn't it have been great to do the recarpeting while we were closed? If I could have just had the city front us $116,000, it would have been so convenient to do it now, but that didn't work out that way.
So how much, or how long would it take once you remove the books out to recarpet, and you would have your desk figured out and install that desk after the carpet goes in?
Correct.
Correct?
Yeah.
How long would that take? How much time would that be? Do you have any idea?
I don't know yet. Right now I'm sort of focused on getting the pricing of it all, just to see what's feasible. Because of course, if you as a board was like, you know what, don't want to do this project next year, don't think it's a good idea, or if we get the numbers and go, you know what, I can't believe it's triple what we first thought, it won't be. I want to first make sure I know what the costs are, and then we can sort of talk a bit about timeline. I just know that I anticipate will double the amount of time it will take to do the project.
And will the library close?
I'm just wondering if you couldn't
have to.
talk to the planning department and just see if there's a company that has open warehouse space, for an example, right now that it, isn't being rented. Of course, the month you want to do it is when it would be rented, of course. That's
But
Yeah.
the thing is, if it fits in our 4 rooms here, why take it off-site?
Yeah, but aren't you saying then we lose potential revenue on the meeting rooms and,
That's
But
probably.
perhaps the library will be closed for this.
Yeah, there will be no books, really. I don't think you make that much on the
You-
rental rooms.
You know, I think there's a couple things that I still have to investigate, and I tried to highlight that in yellow. So the things for option number one is I had to figure out how many carts, and I do think it's going to be 189. I'm not certain, so what I listed here was the intangible costs of taking the 4 meeting rooms offline for a month to store the books, possibly. So one of the things that I have to do is get the measurements for the carts and figure out how many carts can fit in all 4 of these rooms. So I'm going to work to figure that out because that will help to figure out the feasibility for option one.
And that's the option where they have to take the shelving apart also.
Correct. And we would need someone to do that. It's possible DPW would be willing to do it for free, right? I mean, they have to pay their crew, but they might be willing to do it. I have to talk with the head of GPW about that. He's been really busy, so I still have to get in touch with him
So when they
before.
lift the shelves, there's still something there that the shelves are being lifted by. How did the carpenters work, or carpet people work around that?
So you're talking about option 4 then?
Yeah.
So they have a machine that they unscrew the bolts from the floor, and with the books on it, it lifts up the shelving unit, and then they just carpet underneath, and then...
But there's something that has to hold that
You're
shelf.
thinking there might be bolts and,
No, I'm thinking whatever's
The
lifted.
machine,
has to be the
yeah.
machine.
You know, I
don't they
mean,
have to make holes in the new carpet to get the bolts through yet?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you get,
that's on them to figure out.
Wondering if they drive it off a distance and then they roll the carpet. You know,
They probably, I mean, these are tile, it's carpeting tile we're probably doing, so they're in
so it's
squares.
sections.
Yeah, so they can probably get pretty far, or like roll the
Right.
shelf back, but
How old are the shelves?
That's a
I,
big consideration I learned.
are you telling me my shelves are gonna fall apart?
Yes, they may.
No, Tony, don't tell me that.
Because once you take the screws out, they strip, and then you've got that mess. And then when you go to put books back on, the shelves will split the ends. It's a lot to take them apart and put them together. So I can tell you the bookcases from the 70s disintegrated, the 80s bowed out, the 90s, they had a good year that year, those were pretty solid. And the 2000s fell apart because they're particle board.
Oh,
Okay,
You
so,
have a big consideration on what type of material shelves are made out of and what year.
and that's an awful thing to consider because it may happen or it may not.
And it's
you
huge.
could maybe take one apart on a trial basis, see what, put the books back on and see what
Can you go
happens, I
through
suppose.
and find out when they purchased these shelves?
Yeah, I mean, I think we may have the records. I have a better idea. I'm in my 30s. I hope to retire by at least when I'm like 60, 65. So let's just table this project for 35 years and let the schmuck after me deal with it.
there you go. Classic government, shelter problem down the road to the next.
Classic government, kick the can.
Just for me, you guys. Come on. Well, that's interesting. And I didn't.
Add like $5,000 just because of
Yeah.
hours. And when the ladies move the carts, it's a guarantee someone will get heel spurs. I'm just telling you, I'm the one who got those.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things. Those
I know.
book carts are so heavy.
Yeah. From the children's area, it was quite the wear on our bodies was immense on people's backs and knees and feet. I'm
Are the
not
carpet tiles in there now?
in.
Is the carpet
No,
is there?
that's broadloom carpet. The roll here's tile.
Yeah.
This is tile here. All right, I'm going to make a note. Actually, this is a really thank you, Tony, for this point because we have an empty shelf right now in the adult area. We were always going to take it down to create a little bit more space for tables. So there's no reason why I can't take it down now and sort of see what happens to it. So, okay, so
You have your workman, I can't, is his name George?
yes,
Yeah.
yep.
And I would have him do it because they know.
Yeah.
When I worked with the custodians, they were like, oh my gosh, well, these aren't going back together, or we can't move these. If we move these, it's
Yeah.
gonna.
Yeah.
Remember, there's also an option here to not move the shelving at all, to carpet around it.
Yep. So I'm still waiting to hear back from the carpeting company about that. I said to him, so the concern that I have is that it feels like a shortcut to me. And I hope it feels easy, and I like easy, and it would be cheaper, and I like less expensive. So my question to the carpeting person was, and of course he's a carpeting person who's trying to sell me a product, I recognize that. Can they carpet up to the shelves and not have it look bad and not have it
Be noticeable.
It's not going to be peeling away. And of course, we're sort of committed. If we decide we want to move shelves or take them down the road, all of a sudden we have these gaps where we'd have to try to use our attic stock tile and fill in the carpet. So,
And the architects will tell you that you can't determine how the space will be used in 5 years. And so that's why they always recommend to carpet it all. And I can say, because I have one that we didn't carpet it all, and it's become a huge issue. And when we do move, when you put the carpet squares in, they're different colors. There's different this, there's different that.
yeah.
And it did become an issue because we changed totally how we used a space.
Right.
So that is what we got, and that was good advice for us because we do move around things.
But if you've got carpeting under shelving, and you have bolts or whatever is used to hold your shelving in place, aren't you spoiling that carpeting immediately by installing another shelf over? I can't see you moving a shelf.
To the floor?
I thought
They have
Ours
to.
are.
They have to be.
And
No, I would think the weight of the books might hold.
yeah, the weight of the
Yeah.
books.
Well-
Against the wall, they're
Maybe not.
bolted to the wall.
I guess I'll have to double check that.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought they were, but maybe I'm misremembering or confusing it with a different library. So, more things for me to look at. Okay.
Because if they aren't bolted,
That would
that's,
impact the
Yeah.
installation.
Because that, we move them a lot.
Yeah.
All right, I will look into that. It's a good question. So,
If it's any consolation, it's much easier getting carpeting than getting your shelves. Because that's a whole big fat trauma that you really want to retire before you can.
okay, I'm making a note of that.
hopefully these are made in the right year, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the right company. Yeah.
All right, so I definitely have some more work to do. There's definitely some information that I'm missing, which I'll investigate, and some costs that I'm still waiting to get. So I'll make sure that I fill in these gaps so that by the time we get to strategic planning and by the time we get to July, it's a more full set of facts for you. So, any other questions about that before I toddle on? Okay. All right. So, packet page 25. This is connected to the public furniture line item for 2021, and initially, the plan was to recover the public meeting room chairs with public furniture money. But as I look at them, I think they're in fine condition. I think the padding is still fine. I don't see, there's maybe some minor stains, but nothing. I think the chairs still have life left in them, and they're not needed to be replaced. The larger priority is the furniture that's not accessible. I think that's a larger issue for our library. So my recommendation is to improve access by spending money on some of that furniture instead.
Would you define OPAFC?
Oh, of course. It's our public library. It's our catalog station.
Okay, thank you.
I don't even think I could. What is the OPEX?
Online public access.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Online public access?
Why didn't I know that? You should probably take away my director title. I don't think I deserve it.
Do other things.
Still, oh man. This is just a list. Again, we had an accessibility professional come through and do measurements, and he said that we weren't meeting certain standards for accessibility based on the guidelines. The haunting thing about the OPAC table is that we actually have a handicap accessible sign on it, and it's not. And it's been that way for decades. So we need to...
And how many complaints have you had?
Not a lot, but that doesn't mean we're not determined to fix it. So anyway, so that there's not really a ton of explanation there. That's just where I would recommend prioritizing those funds for 2021.
But when you have the ADA person come through, let me ask this question. The accessible furniture, is it 16,000 in 2021, or is it going to go into 2022, or how much money do you think it's going to be for these things? You know that yet?
In terms of rectifying every piece of furniture in the report, it's going to take more than just 2021.
Because my understanding is that that once you start doing ADA things, you have to finish ADA things. Once you open up the can of worms, so to speak, then you must follow through and do all of your ADA stuff, because then that would potentially mean the bathrooms, different kinds of things. So I don't know if that's still true or not, but when we did, in the previous board I was on, I think it was City Hall we did, and that was very clear that once you started, you had to keep going.
And I'll double check with the city attorney. I thought that might have more to do with renovation. Like once you start renovating a building, like construction-wise, that you have to sort of commit to it in terms of like
we were renovating.
Right. Buying pieces of furniture, I don't know if that would quite set that timer, but I'll double check with the city attorney.
I don't think it would hurt. Because I don't want to see us have to push then a whole bunch of ADA things up that we didn't think we would have to.
Right.
Because I'm assuming that you want to spend this money on this furniture in the 2021, that's why we're doing this now.
Correct.
So even though there's other line items down the road for future years.
Correct. Okay, I'm just making a note, so forgive the pause. Do we have I'm sure I'll be able to read this later. Okay. All right. Then one of the other projects that I'm recommending, not just me. One of the things that was in our strategic plan that is also coming due this year that was in past plannings was our teen area. So you're going to see a needs assessment that was built. I should have printed off for you the colored version because it's so much prettier, and I'm really kicking myself for not doing that. But picture, you know what? I'm actually going to pull up the document here because it's easier to. Overview of this, and then strategic planning, we'll talk more about it. Hopefully, at the July meeting, all we have to talk about is budget. Hopefully, my conversations about the library and reopening will be very minimal. Okay, so if you picture this like a booklet, the right side here is the first page, and technically the left side is the last page. So for those of you who may not know or may not know the history,
I apologize, I thought I shut it off.
that's okay. It's still beautiful the second time. Our goal is to actually improve the furniture, the lighting, and to create better study spaces for the teens. And we have not put really any money into the teen area in such a long time. They had a couch donated from the Friends a couple years ago, and that's about it. There's really not been any attention paid to that area. We have a librarian devoted to teens.
What's our teen population?
Good question. Let me skip to the next page because I don't have it memorized.
You go around to the other libraries to get ideas, or?
Yeah, we did go visit. Oh, let's see here. There are 3,092 teens enrolled at Muskego, but that's just at Muskego.
Okay.
There are 1,700 of them that have library cards.
Okay.
So the history of the teen area is that in 2000, the library was built, but there was no young adult area. There was a kids area and adult area, but no teen area. So 12 years later, they created a makeshift area in the back of the library, and that makeshift area exists today. It used to house our encyclopedias, and instead we shoved the teen books back there and shoved a couple tables. So it really doesn't, it was not designed with them in mind. And as you can recall, for those of you who have seen the children's area or who are part of the planning committee, there's a lot of intentionality that goes into planning a space and selecting the furniture and knowing what that audience is going to use the space for. And that was just never done for the teens. So a year later, in 2013, we hired our young adult librarian, the first one, to provide more tailored services for teens. And then it took us about 7 more years to start to say, okay, we have the person, we're developing the programs, we have the audience. Now we need to stop forcing them into a space that doesn't fit them. So, and our furniture is aging. It's just, even the furniture that's there is just, it's not great. It's square peg, round hole scenario. So, Nancy, you asked a great question about our audience. So, there's a fairly high population of teens in Muskego, and many of them, over half of them, are library card holders. So, a lot of people say teens don't use the library, and that's just not true. And we do, library cards do deactivate, so it's not.
And some use it to meet boys.
Possibly. I don't question them. The library serves many purposes.
I'm speaking from experience.
All right, Nancy. All right. I'm glad the library could be of service in your history. So, in 2019, we checked out over 8,000 items from the young adult area. So definitely they're getting good use. We had 40 teens volunteering at the library over 2019, and had over 1,300 teens participating in programs, and 210 of them doing summer reading. So what we learned from our statistics in 2019 is that they're using the library, they're using the collection. And so we want to make sure that we provide a space for them, that it was not just an old encyclopedia area. Not that I don't love encyclopedias, but. So, of course, these numbers are pre-pandemic, but one of the things as a public library is that we, the high school closes, and the middle school is not going to be open at 8 o'clock at night. And so, certainly for those hours of after school, and how late is the school libraries open?
High school 4 o'clock and middle school 3 o'clock.
So we want to be able to, obviously we have great school libraries, but we want to be able to take over when the school day ends. And homeschoolers, we do have homeschoolers that come that rely on our collection as well.
They are used to pretty nice facilities also. I mean, they have a brand new one at Muskego Lakes. Lake Dune has been updated. The high school got new carpeting and they're getting new shelving. They have new flexible furniture. So they're used to having a nice space. And they do make comments that it's a little bitty spot. So,
You've created unrealistic expectations, Tony.
well,
Brittany, who created this and why is it a booklet and who is it going to be handed out to?
Amanda, our team librarian,
I
created
figured
it.
so. She has great graphics.
Yeah, I know, she is fantastic. It's a booklet because in terms of handing it out to people, it's kind of like our strategic plan, it's just something you can page
Sure.
through. And
But who is it going to? I mean, is it?
Yep. So first it's going to you, because
Okay.
of course if you all think, I don't like the idea of this project, then it dies here, right? Then it's not something, so first I have to make sure that the board believes in the value of the project. After that, I wanted to take it to the mayor and to the council.
Sure.
Because,
Would be the, right.
and those are sort of my primary audience.
Okay.
Because they're,
That's fine. I
these-
just
you are
was
the
wondering
two
what your
groups that-
intentions were, if this was
Yeah.
something you wanted to leave places or
Yep.
what, but we really don't need to do that probably.
yeah, we wanted to make sure that, that the project was needed. And so this whole of 2019 was spent gathering the data, talking to teens, looking at the history. And we took all that data, we did a ton of surveys, we watched teens use the space or not use the space, we talked to them about why they used it or didn't use it, and then all of that data went into this presentation.
Okay.
So this is sort of the work of about a year's worth of study of the area.
When you did the children's, did you have any private donations for different things?
Muskego Women's Club,
Well, I know
honey,
we did, but I mean, did you ever go to the businesses like Impro and some of those people that are really invested in our community in a lot of ways?
So,
Perhaps, or-
I did not have the,
I'm trying to think, did we?
I was not here for the
Did we
fundraising
get
portion of it.
donations? Because I was on that strategic plan committee when we
I'm
did
sorry,
the
I didn't hear the
when we
question.
did the children's area. Did we get donations from?
Not from companies. You got it from the Friends of the Library, gave
Yeah.
100,000. The Women's Club gave quite a bit of money. I can't, was it 15 to 60,000, something like that.
Okay.
The Lions Club gave
Yeah,
quite a
that's
bit of
right.
money
Okay.
for furniture
So
and
you went to
smartboard.
those groups.
But and then the city. So corporations, big corporations did not go into that, and it's definitely, we could try to talk to an info and see.
Is it allowed for you to go out and?
Yep,
Yeah.
as far as I
I
know.
mean, Inpro might be very possibly interested.
Yeah.
I mean, you may have to call it like the Inpro something area. They
Yeah.
might want to put their name on
I'm
it.
sure they will.
You know, so that would be the only thing.
I don't remember there being any real effort to go out
I
and
don't think we
solicit.
did. I think we
remember
were
grabbing
fine with
cards and
what we
handing them to
had.
Pete, and it just didn't.
I think we were fine with what we had, so we didn't even have
Exactly.
to think about that.
As a fun fact, my first day of work, actually it was my third day of work here, they said, you have a meeting. And I said, oh really? To what? They're like, you're meeting with the architect. And I went, obviously I knew the project existed. And so I sat in a room with the architect and the builders, and they're like, would you approve these plans? And I went, what? I don't need, you want me to make a paint color decision? I don't even understand this project. So that was fun. But yeah, so I missed most of the fundraising part. I remember going with Abby to the Women's Club presentation and talking to the Lions Club. But by that point, the Friends and the city had already committed
It already.
those chunks of
That's my
money.
recollection.
Yeah, and we were good with it, with what
So
we got.
that is absolutely not off the table,
Yeah.
certainly. Exams, we tend to be very busy, 46 teens a night on average study at the library during finals. We tend to see a lot of teens in the building at night. So, and of course, why we want to continue to invest in this space is we want to keep them being lifelong library users, right? As
Absolutely.
kids, parents bring their kids to the library, you can see people tend to wander, right? And then they come back as adults. So we want to keep them engaged and keep them inspired. And part of that is having a librarian who can do targeted programming. And then part of that is having
Hey
a
there.
space where they feel.
Yeah.
No problem.
I think it's a safe place. And
Yes.
I know for
No
there are
problem.
kids who come here
Um,
after school until their parents pick them up at
Okay.
6.
Okay.
And it's a comforting
Yeah.
place, it's a safe place, and they enjoy being here.
Get some work, some schoolwork
Get their
done
homework done.
and be safe.
And I appreciate that feedback, and that is what we want to be for them. And we have some quotes from some teens that we talked to about what they liked about the library. Our strategic plan survey, 78% of respondents ranked that updating this area as the highest priority project, so that's from our strategic plan. That's some survey data, and again, just sometimes people can make flashy documents, but they just were made up. This is all of the research that we did to come to this conclusion that this project is necessary. And as you can see, a lot of it towards the middle is Muskego Public Library. Our needs assessment, our space assessment, our survey, our exam week assessment. So we really did, in my opinion, do our due diligence to know that this is a project that needs to happen. So much that I don't know what the city's financial state will be next year. I don't know what kind of impact it will be. But my recommendation to you is that whatever capital projects we present, this is our priority. I would rather wait on the carpet, and I know that sounds silly or not a surprise given how much I just talked about how stressful that project may seem. But to me, the carpet being a year older is not going to provide as much value as what service we can provide to the teens.
I agree as well.
Brittany, how'd you come upon the $32,000 for it? Because I would assume you haven't done any planning of any kind. I wouldn't until you get the money, but
Well, yeah, so.
how did you pick that number?
The pandemic kind of messed me up on this, I'll admit, because I felt like we had a very strong case based on the data that we came up with last year and based on the survey. So I thought it was fairly likely that this project would at least get moved to the city. And given that it's a fairly low number compared to some of our other capital projects, I figured at minimum we would get this project. So I was feeling fairly confident about its chances. We had started to get some furniture quotes, just general estimates, and what it would cost to do the flooring so that we could rearrange the space. So we'd started to get some numbers, so we were starting to try to build that number. Our last thing to really set it home, because the teens, one of the things they say is they want privacy, right? And so we were trying to figure out how to make privacy in that space without actually making them disappear, because we wanted,
Yeah.
not give
Privacy
them.
from the library at large, or privacy from the
Yeah, they did, from the library at large, they love meeting in
their own
groups,
space?
but they just they don't want to feel like they're in a fishbowl.
They like to say sassy things, and they like to use a little bit of colorful
Of
language.
course, of course.
And I think part of that, in dealing with them at school, that's their big thing, is they want to have that privacy to talk how they
Yeah.
want.
And when they're at home, they don't have that privacy necessarily. So, so we had a designer come out to try to give us some ideas on how to make individual spaces from an open space. And that was going to be the final part to give me my best estimate for you. 32,000 is a bit of a placeholder. And then I never heard back. She came to visit us 2 days before things hit with the pandemic. And I have been reaching out to her, trying to reach out to her, begging her, she has the results. She met with us, she drew up plans. They're waiting back at her office. She told me she was going to send them to me digitally. And I don't know if something happened to her or what, but I have just not been able to get a hold of her, and I may have to move along ahead with a firmer estimate without it. And that's a shame because she had some really good ideas. And not ideas that necessarily meant we have to build walls and do anything, just like really creative uses of like rolling whiteboards to create space, how to rearrange furniture. So I still have a small percentage of hope, but I'm getting a little worried. So, but to answer your question, the 32,000 is based on some initial estimates, but I do need to tighten that number up by July. So.
Would it help if, let's say Aaron, who's president of this group, gave him a push?
To the designer?
I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
It's quite all right.
She had done the teen area for the Oconomowoc Public Library. That's how I got a hold of her. She has designed teen areas for libraries before, so she came recommended, and it's her livelihood. So I'm surprised, and we haven't paid her. We have not paid her yet for her services, so that's why I'm just a little worried something happened to her because it's her profession. She relies on word of mouth. I just can't imagine. Anyway. So I don't know if a separate.
Well, now that you say we haven't paid her yet, I take back that suggestion.
Yeah. I mean, I would rather pay her and have the product because we went through all the work of talking and planning, and she had really good ideas that I think would value our teens. So I wanted to be further along in this estimate than I was, but, and I had it all planned out, you guys. I was going to, basically the months of March and April and May, we're going to be planning for this specifically, so I could give you the best number today, and I had to use my time.
Things happen.
So.
Yeah, pandemics happen.
So what do the teens use that area for now? I mean, I always thought a library was a library. I didn't think it was a congregate, visit, conversational, you always had to be quiet,
Sure. It's
respect other people.
the transition of libraries from just housing and collection to libraries as space has really been something that's happened much more frequently over the past decade, I would say, if not further. They're more community centers now than they were before. And I think that it's true in the school libraries too. They come to talk, they come to meet, they come to, so many school projects are group projects now, or even if they're not doing group projects, they just want access to the Wi-Fi so that they can hook up their Chromebooks and work and talk together. So yeah, I actually think that, because we walked around and we studied what they did for a month, and they wanted to meet in groups so that they could talk and study.
And it keeps them off the streets.
Yeah. Safe place. Yep.
And Tony, do you have anything to add about libraries as spaces for teens or how they use them?
And how it's changed. It's changed tremendously.
Yes.
I mean, I'm a K-8 librarian and I learned how to use a laser cutter, 3D printer. It's now makerspace. It's all about groups, giving them experiences. There's a lot of research on them working together collaboratively. That's what business wants. People can work together. So, yeah, it's changed tremendously. And it's hard sometimes as a librarian to hear the hum, and it does get a little loud, and you're kind of like, ee, study too, but they do need that time.
That's, so what I personally need to do is continue
I
to.
don't know how much longer I can stand it.
I
It is
know,
so cold in
I
here.
am so freezing.
Yep, so
I know,
anyways,
it's just,
that is, in my opinion, why the project needs to move forward, and I will work on getting a number, and that is, I think, it for that. Okay, lastly, so I have more work to do. I have more work to do to get to the strategic plan, and I'm working on it. It's my new priority, is the budget. The last page is the operating budget. In the interest of time and your frozen bodies, my 2021 comments are listed, right? What I attempted to do was get a flat budget. I did not want to come to the city with an increase. I think we can do it. I have moved certain money from one fund line to another based on what I saw happen over the last couple of years and where I think our priorities have changed. The one big difference in the operating budget is if moving forward, we want to pay for cleaning on Fridays. Before the pandemic, we did not because it was a way to save money. If we decide that we need to clean every Friday moving forward, it will cost us $6,000. And my flat budget will be a plus $6,000
6,000 for the year.
for the year. Yep, to add 52 Fridays, roughly.
Do they do some kind of sanitation, or is it just vacuuming and dusting?
Yep, it's sanitizing. And so right now, we are paying $130 every Friday to add that Friday because I am not going to have my staff or public come in the building without it being cleaned right now. So that's the biggest change. Otherwise, it's a flat budget with just me shifting some priorities. And if you have any questions in the meantime, before strategic planning needs to talk about capital, or before next month about the operating, just email me, and I'll make sure to either get those answers to you, or be prepared to talk with you about it at the July meeting. And I'm so sorry it was so cold in here. I'm very embarrassed that we couldn't provide a
It's like
happier
it's finally
environment.
summertime and we're in
I was
here.
gonna wear my sweats because I walked over here and I thought, nah, it's 80 degrees outside.
Yeah,
We're gonna know
okay.
it's 20 in here.
I'll make sure to check this room the next time we meet if we're still in here and get space heaters or something. And
Well, the air conditioning,
Don't you-
lowering it,
Yeah, I'll bring my
change your
carpet
budget.
next.
Yeah.
Right. The problem is though that it's cold here because it's an external room, but then you go into the interior and it's warm. It's just like heating a
We
house.
should have sat in the interior.
We should have moved. I did it wrong, you guys.
Tracy, do you hear all of this? You're missing out
Yeah,
on
I was
the
gonna
great
say-
temperature.
Maybe Brittany put the temperature down to keep everybody awake for
Do we
such
have
a
to talk about
Maybe.
discussion, action, approval,
Tracy, I'll keep that in mind for the future. That is not a bad idea.
Back. Do we have to do number 4 yet?
Oh,
Discussion, action, appointment of library board committees.
that's right. Well, you guys can do one of two things.
Table it.
You can table it and just say that the strategic planning committee from this past year will meet to carry on the budget and we can address it at July. Michelle did pass along that if there was space on the strategic planning committee, she'd be interested. So she passed that along.
How many people do we need on the committee?
Just the 3 of us.
3.
Okay.
So if you guys want to table the discussion, we can table it and just the strategic planning committee that currently exists can meet. If you'd like to do a quick discussion right now, we can do
Are
that.
they good with it?
I'm
Same
totally
committee?
fine with if Michelle would
Okay.
like to be on it as well. I don't
Yeah.
see a problem with that at
I
all.
think we're good.
Yeah.
And then we can, so
So you will contact
You want a
us as
motion to
far as
defer?
doing a date,
Yep,
and that will be sometime in July?
yep.
Okay.
you need a
Prior
motion.
to our board meeting?
Yes.
All right, just so I know what's
Yeah.
going on.
Yep.
Would you like a formal motion to defer?
Do we need one, or are we just?
See, it wasn't clear to me if committee work required voting or not, or if you guys just talked about it. Like obviously there was stuff in the agenda, there was stuff in the library board manual about how to appoint the board president, vice president, and treasurer. I didn't see anything specifically about formal action needed for committees, and I couldn't remember how we did it in the past.
It wasn't for personnel,
right.
didn't we just talk?
Yeah.
Decide we would be on it?
Yeah, I don't.
There's nothing in your bylaws that state it has to be a formal vote, so
Need to.
Well, I would think we could just move forward. Just the current committee in its current state is just going to continue to meet and carry on.
Michelle, and you have
Um,
Michelle, correct?
Yeah, so I think.
I think she was already on it last year. She was just.
Oh, well then there you go.
Yeah, so it's just, it's resolved.
Robin's place.
It's resolved. The
That's
committee will
right,
meet
That's right, okay.
and we'll move forward.
I'm just throwing it out there that I'm going to be gone from July 1st until the 12th.
Okay. Sounds
So
good.
I know that kind of pushes things then to be that week, so I apologize for that.
No, it's okay. I mean, we'll talk. I'll send out an email.
Okay,
We'll figure it out. There's nothing that we can't do. We're
Okay, all right.
strong and creative people.
Perfect.
So I'll try to make my appointments in that.
Yeah, but okay.
All right. Very good. So communications and miscellaneous business is authorized by law. I don't have anything. Brittany, anything to add?
No.
All right.
I wouldn't dare.
So this time I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
All right, so Camille and Barb. Any further discussion?
I'm not quite there yet. I'm like 2 minutes away from the library right now.
We're leaving, Tracy. Go home.
I'm gonna meet you in the parking lot and just wave. I'm literally just getting home from work right now.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Well, all those in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Bye.
Are there any opposed? Are there any abstentions? We are adjourned, 7:58.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Take care, Tracy.
Yeah, thanks, Tracy, for hanging on.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.